Let's do it. I'm Black Hannibal, running through your capital on elephants. Civilize a savage with my elegance. Militant intelligence, run through your defense. Strike like a ninja, slice, cut, and injure. Leaving no prisoners, just bodies on the battlefield. I'm Spartacus with a sword and shield. Something like a marksman with cold blue steel. War paint on my face, keep my identity concealed. Advance on your camp like dozens of killer ants. Snatch your king like chess, checkmate, this is death. While my team have fun with your queen. Throw your bishops off the roof, your knights flee the scene. I plant bombs in the home of your pawns. The detonation shook the foundation of your rooks. Holding shotguns with double barrels. They impact so hard when it blasts through your body travels. Yeah. Street Spartacus. Black Spartacus. Black Spartacus. Black Spartacus. Black Spartacus. Black Spartacus. Burn your flag as I overthrow your government. New politics, no Democrats and Republicans. Spiritual systems built by wise men who's true in living. The foundation's no longer Christian. Teaching universally the wisdom of the nations. New currency, no more dollar bills with white faces. No more Caucasian domination. All races participate in cultivating education. The people hungry and they ain't waiting. No more debating. Let's overthrow the haven to Satan. This whole world needs some new changes. Rulers with new faces. It's time to take out the racists. Spartacus from the new ages. From the page to the stage, pull a blade on the money changers. Spartacus from the new ages. From this page to the stage, pull a blade on the money changers. Yo. Peace, power, prosperity. Y'all know what it is. Rob Blackstorm. If you are new here, please hit that like button. I see some people. Shout out to Pablo69. Shout out to Philip Boom. Shout out to Vincent L. Start out to Junkyard Jedi. All right. I see people in the building. If you are here, please wipe the floor. Hit that like button. Shout out to Legend Archer coming through in the building. All right. I got a good one for y'all. I was going to do this on Monday, but Spirit was like, yo, hold up. There's going to be some more developments. All right. More signs and symbols for you to see. I actually want to drop this yesterday because yesterday was Saturday, but I tend to listen to Spirit, and Spirit was like, yo, chill, you know what I'm saying? Take it easy. We watch a couple of movies. So I watched a couple of movies, got some insight. You know, I was watching this movie yesterday. We're going to get into it. I know y'all, but, Peace to Trinity, all right? You know how I just to intro it, I was watching a movie yesterday. I forget the name of it. I think it was called The Brightest Light, right? And it was about this brother, right? And he was basically this brother. What he was doing, he was a painter, right? And he painted like Blackamoor art, but Renaissance style. So you see things like the Mona Lisa, right? The way that's painted, and he was painting melanated people that way, right? He did I think it's called The Brightest Light or The Darkest Light, something like that. But it's on HBO Max. But anyway, so I watched this movie and I'm like, man, they're showing his struggles, showing what he's going through, and it's almost like his struggle was more the way they filmed it. They were showing more of his struggle, more of the hood, more of the chaos. His mom was on dope. She was a drug addict. She was in and out of jail. His family, was going through in and out of jail. But he's the only one who went to prison. The difference between jail and prison is when you're doing time. Like you got years under your belt. You're going to go to prison. Jail is you might do the county, maybe a couple months, 3-4 months, right? Then you come home. So prison is totally different from jail. I mean, jail is totally different from prison. Prison is when you're doing a stretch, right? And, he was in there for 11 years. He came home, became a successful artist, a successful painter. But it was not even really mostly about his art. The movie was more about his struggle, his pain, his trauma. And it had me thinking about how much of our pain and trauma is used to manipulate us. or used, not even just to manipulate us. That's even the wrong phrase. But how much of our pain, melanated people's pain and trauma, is used to sell movies, to sell documentaries, to sell just overall any type of product, right? And it's almost like when other cultures look, because I looked at the reviews and the reviews were stellar for this film, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, they didn't even really get into his art, that into the depth of his art, and then, how we learn these different art styles, and things like that. It was mostly about his struggle and how he came from nothing to something, and they was basically selling his struggle. And I looked up who the writers were and the people, and of course, it was people who didn't look like us. Of course, it was people that weren't melanated. This hood story, and I know Brother Panic. Shout out to Brother Panic. I know he did a thing. I didn't watch it. He did a decode of the hood movies, right? And these hood stories, and if you look at Power, right? You look at a lot of the shows that's on TV were about melanated people. It's always like these hood stories. It's always these ghetto stories. It's always these stories of the struggle, right? We have to get to a point, us as melanated beings, or even people that are not melanated beings, right? We have to get to a point where we start to display our greatness, where we start to display not just our dysfunction, but our function, our success, our triumphs. This comes with knowledge of self. When you know yourself, when you study yourself, you know that you are great. When you are a time traveler, you understand that the past is just a guide for the future. The past doesn't determine who you are or what you are. It ain't where you from, it's where you at. So what you do in the here and now is the most important thing you can do. So I just want to say that before I get in. And because a lot of times before I go in with this particular show, because a lot of times when we watch these things, right, we don't realize the psychological effect that it has on us, that it tethers us to this human existence, that it takes us away from our divinity, that it takes us away from our godhood. And it makes us think that the hood aesthetic is all that there is. The struggle is all that there is. The hardship is all that there is. While there is a segment of our society that is going through that, things are getting better. Everyone does not move out of dysfunction. Everyone is not strung out on drugs. Everybody is not in gangs. Everybody is not on crack. Everybody, 50 Cent shows the Power Universe, they selling drugs in college, they selling drugs, in boardroom, they selling drugs they selling drugs everywhere they could sell drugs, right? But our existence is not like that, but it is very influential. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to talk about that real quick. So let's get it in. Let's talk about the times that we're in, right? A lot of things have been happening. A lot of things have been going on. Peace to Justina B. All right. And let's pull this up. All right. Let's sort of talk about the season that we're in, and we'll get into it. All right. And how these perspectives not only, and I want to lead into how these perspectives affect us. And as we go through this lecture, you're going to see more of what I'm talking about. All right. So let me pull this because I can't even see what I'm presenting here. So bear with me 1 second. Okay. So right now, right, November 5th to December 21st, we're well into the 20th. So we got a month to go. This is from the book Medu Netter, Volume 1 by Raun Nefer Men. Oh, quick story. Shout out to Raun Nefer Men, the author of this book. I had an issue I told y'all about a while ago where I was waiting for a book from them since May. Spoke to a brother. Actually, it was on Facebook. I was did a little bit of complaining. Spoke to a brother. I actually spoke to him. He got back to me. He called me himself. Got back to me, and he's sending me not only the book that I ordered, but another book to make up for it. So, shout out to him. All right, good things do happen. So, but I didn't really talk that much shit because there's so much I've learned from that book, which I'm showing you now. But just want to talk about that, and things aren't always as bad as they seem. People aren't always out to get you. Sometimes it's just a conversation. That's one of the lessons I learned. Sometimes it's just a conversation that needs to be had because he didn't know what was happening. So me telling him, it allowed him to see what was happening. And subsequently, I'm getting 2 books instead of one. All right. Books that I wanted, actually. So shout out to him and also our set society. All right. That being said, so this is basically the Northwest would be when you are meditating. This is what they recommend as a, so right here, this is what they would recommend as a position for you to basically turn your body while you're meditating. All right. This time period that we're in these winter months, going up into the winter solstice, basically right now, you're preparing yourself. And, I know it's Turkey Day, right? Really, you're celebrating the destruction of the Ottoman Empire, which is a lot of your ancient ancestors come from. But we'll say that for another video, the whole Turkey Day thing. But basically, what they're showing, what he's saying in this, where he's saying the Northwest, is this the way you should face or turn your body to maximize the meditation. We are in the offset cycle, all right? It's offset is obviously, or offset is Isis, all right? So Isis, offset, same thing. Yemaya, same thing, all right? Same thing, corresponding, same deities, just different forms from different cultures. So offset is basically where you get where one, you would be devoting yourself to learning truth, to understand truth, and to live truth. And the second, where you would be feeding at the breast of Offset, which is what that symbolism is for, to gain your spiritual power, which is basically awakening your chakras or opening up your kundalini, as they say. We'll get into that more. So it says you have arrived at the point in your cycle, this is right now, where your body is cool and has begun to remoisten itself. All right. So it's cold, but you're building more water, right? Because it's not hot outside. So your body's retaining more water. Your receptivity, able to communicate, able to respond emotionally to ideas, is at its height. All right. Great time to study. Great time to be learning. All right. That's what Sagittarius season is all about anyway. Studying, learning spirituality, learning philosophy, learning high ideals, checking your ideas, checking the things that you have been thinking this year, what you've been going through this year, and how you can make next year better. So Sagittarius season is all about that, leading into Capricorn season, which is the winter solstice, or going into Capricorn season, which would, the beginning of that is the winter solstice, where you're able to develop those spiritual gifts. One of my goals in 2022 was to have a book out. I have a book out. All right. The way it came was not the way I expected it to come through, but I have a book out. I'm working on part 2 now. Just this is going to be my own book, but I'm working on part 2 now. All right. So it says your receptivity, ability to respond emotionally to ideas is at its height. So you really want to be careful of what you're paying attention to. Be careful of what you are taking in, and guard your emotions. All right, don't have your 5 senses wrapped up in this material Maya third dimensional world. All right, you want to be stirring yourself, be reading, be listening, be watching, and tuning into ideas that are inspiring you, that are going to make you better, where you're going to learn new things and move forward with new concepts, especially going into the new year 2023. That's a 7 number year. All right. So go into mediumistic trance. All right. Renew, that's meditation. All right. Renew your commitment to identifying with your true self or ser. That would be Kether on the Kabbalah, or just Osir, which would be Osiris. And meditate on realizing the objectives decided upon in the preceding period. If you have not eaten proteins in the past 3 or 4 hours, sweets will greatly enhance your ability to enter instant mediumistic trance. So any type of dark chocolate, not like Mr. Good Bar or one of those, but like a dark cocoa chocolate, if you around anytime, the time period is after 9 p.m. So anytime after 9, if you take that, you'll be able to go into trance easier. You'll be able to meditate easier, all right? Because your body is building more water, therefore you have the ability to go in easier. So if you're not a meditator, now is the time to learn. There's plenty of videos. If you need to meet with me, I'll show you how to do it. We could do a one-on-one session, right? Email me, inbox me, all right? Now, it says, remember that unless you impress your will on your life force, so impressing the will on your life force is going into meditation. Going into meditation and visualizing whatever your objectives is. So if your objective is that you want to start a business, right? If your objective is you want to, get a new boo. If your objective is you want to make more money, whatever. If your objective is, you want to finish your classes at school, you want to start going to the gym, you whatever, change your diet, right? It has to start here first. It has to start in the mind, right? It has to start in the darkness. And the darkness, right, has been playing out heavy this last month. Like going into the darkness of self, going out of this visual three-dimensional world and going within has been playing out heavy. I'm going to show you, right? So it says, unless you impress your will upon your life force, you will suffer the host of problems that are ignorantly labeled as lack of willpower. Okay. We all know people talk about willpower, self help gurus, and stuff like that. But in order to tap into this willpower, you can't get it from books. You can't get it from watching Brother Rich's channel. You can't get it from watching, any YouTube videos or going to lectures or going to retreats and things like that. You have to impress these things on your life force. The universe is mental first. The first law in the seven laws of the Kabbalion, or the seven universal laws, is mentalism. So everything is mental. So mind moves matter. So what people call alpha males nowadays, right? When you look at the real alpha males, it's not a big guy like me with muscles and, husky and things like that and tall and strong, right? That's not an alpha male, right? The alpha male is the person I'm working for, right? The alpha male is the guy who created YouTube, right? The alpha male is Jeff Bezos, who I'm ordering books from. The alpha male is um, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, right? Those are the alpha males because they've created things, right? And they're using their mind to move people. They're using their mind to move bodies. They have people that's working for them. So our definition of alpha male or alpha female is people that are running around wearing Versace and driving nice cars and big houses. Those aren't alpha males. An alpha male or there aren't alpha people. An alpha male or alpha person is a person that's using mind over matter in order to manifest things. All right. So you will suffer the host of problems that are ignorantly labeled as lack of willpower, lack of perseverance, lack of devotion to an objective, and so on. Now you've pressed your will upon your life force. It is time to go to sleep and let Kepara do the rest. Kepara is the beetle, and the beetle basically symbolizes the daytime, right? Going from day, the beetle, the beetle of the Egyptian scarab, which is Kepara. Basically, what it does is this particular beetle would lay eggs during the day, and it lays eggs in a ball of dung, and it rolls that ball of dung according to east to west. So according as the sun rises and the sun sets, that's how it's rolling this ball of dung. So basically, it's a symbol of you planting your seeds throughout the day, of you manifesting things throughout the day, of you doing your quote unquote work, right? So when you get to bed, it's basically saying that let Kepara do the rest. Let things manifest on their own because you have impressed your will on your life force. All right. Let's go into, hope that made sense. All right. So let's go into this, the fourth manifestation. All right. I just want to make sure y'all see what I see, and y'all do. All right. So let's go into the fourth manifestation, which is now that we have been hearing Shuri, right? For this Black Panther, we've been hearing Shuri. Shuri is the Black Panther. Shuri is this, too many women, MCU, right? All those things. Now, what this is saying, Netter is the Egyptian or the Kemetic name for nature, right? My only God would be nature, right? If there's a hurricane or a tornado, I don't care what you believe in, right? Nature is going to rule, right? If there's a drought, nature rules, right? If it's super hot, nature rules, right? So nature is a deity unto itself, right? So the Egyptians, the Kemetic people, did not worship animals. They understood that nature was a spirit, and nature has a variety of spirits unto itself. This is why the Yoruba, um, and other systems like the Yoruba, are dealing with the Orishas and things like that. Not only do they deal with the Orishas, but there's also a ton of nature spirits because nature is its own spiritual being. All right, and we'll get into a little bit of that probably another video. All right, so Netta projects its sound Shri into the nada. So the nada, you could say that's uh dark energy, for lack of a better word, right? You could say that's into the universe, right? That's into the waters of new, right? The nada, the everything, right? The nada, he has it right here, which would be the ankh, right? Or the nada to. Now, I thought this was interesting because this is a PDF, but it was interesting that these had just 11s here. I didn't do this; it wasn't me, but it had 11s here. So I thought that was interesting that Black Panther Wakanda Forever dropped on 1111. This is showing 1111, and the main character is Shuri or Shri, right? So this is something you want to take into your meditations as well. Take the mantra Om Shri, right? And this chant, what it's going to do, is not only going to bring you abundance, I'm talking about financial abundance, but it'll also help these ideas that you're reading and studying. You'll be able to get more downloads and get more correspondence and understand things clearer, right? It's a holistic mantra. So since for the first time, and this is how things are manifested, I'm not going to go into the tree of life for this because I want to get into the Kyrie thing and everything that y'all are really here for. But I have to start this off with letting you know the times we're in and how you could self-help yourself, because this is my channel is ultimately about self-development, spiritual self-development. For the first time, Netter turns its attention to the things that are to be made. In respect to the making of things, its first act is to look again into the subjective realm. So the subjective realm, you could say the subconscious realm, the source of being, from which it realizes that all things will be modification on one being, the one consciousness and the one energy matter rooted in the subjective realm. So all that is saying is that when the creator creates, the creator is creating from the subconscious or from the waters of new, which is what the Egyptians say is the source of all things. This universe is water, right? Hydrogen is the first element of creation, right? So this universe is water. It's pretty much water based or water vapor based, right? You can't see it, just like you can't see water vapor, right? When you put a pot of tea on, and you'll see the vapor for like a second when it starts boiling, but then it disappears, right? Where does that vapor go, right? So it realizes that all things will be modified in one being, right? So that's what this mantra is saying. That it's this mantra is manifestation. This first thought about things will therefore be the ruling principle of their existence. So this is the main point. This fact is later elaborated into the principles of law, order, and love. Ma'at. All right. So the Shri mantra is tapping into Ma'at. If you are using the Kabbalah, that would be chest head. All right. And basically, it's what it says here: oneness in the lower world, law, order, and love. All right. Those are the principles of Ma'at. And we see people are laying down the law, right? People are saying what they will do, what they won't do, what's right, what's wrong. This is where we come from. People are speaking out, right? And they're speaking out of love, okay? Not just love for themselves. In some instances, it's love for themselves. In some instances, it's love for the people, right? But Ma'at is all about balance, ultimately. It's all about order. It's all about Ma'at is all about oneness, and Ma'at is the law. Ma'at deals with universal law. So when you see the Kabbalion or the seven universal laws, even though they come from Tahuti or thought, right? Seven universal laws, Ma'at is thoughts or Tahuti's consort, what they call a consort, or Ma'at Tahuti's husband. All right. Hopefully that made sense. All right. giving you just some things you could do, some things you could work with. And again, that mantra would be Aum, AUM, and Shri, just like it says there. If you want to really get fancy, you just add NG to it and you say Shring, right? And the more you repeat that mantra, even if you're in your day to day or through your daydreams, right, you'll start to see things manifest. You'll start to see your retention of information become even better. Your memory will enhance, right? Now, of course, you can't just sit back and, be eating ho hos and, spicy chips and, drinking, Pepsi for 24 for that the what is it, that's for the 16 hours that you are awake, right? You got to, of course, take care of yourself to receive the information properly. But people are saying Shri, Shri, Shri. So we don't, so on this channel here, we don't talk about what they're doing to us. This is not a victim channel. All right. This is not a channel where we talk about, oh, the white man's doing this. Oh, they're doing this ritual on us. Oh, they're conjuring this on us. I don't care what the white man's doing. I don't care what the government's doing. I don't even care what the secret societies are doing. There is no real secrets anymore. We are in a spiritual revolution and evolution and a spiritual renaissance right now. We're in a spiritual renaissance. We're living through a spiritual renaissance. In 100,000 or 1,000 years from now, when people look back, they will be talking about a spiritual renaissance. In the 90s, people weren't talking about chakras like this. People weren't talking about raising their frequency. People weren't talking about energy and vibration. Those weren't common themes, right, when I was growing up, but now they are, right? So if they're doing a ritual, we are doing a ritual too. Fuck that and fuck them. That's my mentality. And that's the mentality I want to spread to y'all. Once you have a knowledge of self, there's three factors of knowledge of self. One is self, you help yourself, right? This is all spiritual. This is all magical, by the way, right? You help yourself, right? You accept yourself for who you are. So no BBLs, no all these surgeries, right? These are for people who don't have a knowledge of self and they're not accepting themselves for who they are, right? When you don't know your history, you don't know your culture. That's why people are like, oh, I'm from here. Okay, great, you're from here. Now people are like, oh, I'm a what you call it. They're like, oh, I'm a I'm a Hebrew. Great. Who the fuck cares, right? What are you doing with this science? What are you doing with these ideas? What are you doing? Are you learning the principles of Judaism? The principles that got the quote unquote the Akhenazi Jews rich, got them wealthy, have them able to control their own land. I live here in New York. I've seen the Akhenazi Jews build a community. This is not something I'm asking you. I've seen it in my lifetime. Jay-Z talks about this on the 444 album, but I can say I witnessed that as well. I've been back and forth from New York and lived different places, but I've seen it. I've seen it build. I've seen a whole community with hospital, their own buses, their own schools, their own stores, a whole community based on spiritual principles. So if you're saying you're a Jew and you want to be a Jew now because you heard Kyrie and you heard Kanye talking, okay. You want to be a Hebrew Israelite? Okay. But how are you going to implement these principles? And are you going to be living righteously? Are you going to be living oneness? You cannot have love and oneness without justice, right? And there's a lot of unjust people that are wearing the robes of a Hebrew, that are wearing the robes of a Jew, that are unrighteous, right? So it's not, again, it's not about the label. It's not where you from, it's where you at. So how are you living? We are people of principle. We are people that lived righteously. We are people that lived harmoniously. When you watch the Black Panther movie, if you watched it, the first scene where they're talking about when Ramona is in there, what's Ramona saying? Ramona is like, yo, we ain't giving y'all no vibranium. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready spiritually. Y'all just if y'all we give y'all vibranium, y'all just gonna try to tear up the earth and be the boss, right? Of the earth. Y'all not gonna live in harmony with it. So yes, you have. So it's the same thing with your quote unquote melanin. It's the same thing with your quote unquote spiritual gifts. If you're not using these things to raise your frequency, to raise your vibration, and to be a person of noble character, right? to, as Jesus, right, or the Bible says, to treat thy neighbor as thyself, then all this shit is bullshit. You're going to be manifesting things fit in the physical world here and there, and still going through human trials and tribulations. All right, and don't have the ability to master them, and don't know why they're happening. They're happening because you're playing games with this art. You're playing games with this science. You're playing games with this magic. It ain't about getting a boo. It ain't about just getting a new car. It ain't about just getting a new house. It's about raising yourself spiritually to not only the point where you can master things just from thinking about it, not using tools, but also to the point where you could inspire others, and also where you are creating things that are going to benefit you and generations beyond you. That's what the spiritual thing is about. It's about building communities. This is what our ancestors did. This is what the Jewish community is doing right now. What are we doing? Complaining, talking about the white man, talking about rituals that they're doing to us, right? That's not what it is, and that's not what this is about. Let's go into, again, as I said in my video with Mike. People in Wakanda wasn't twerking. You know what I'm saying? The men in Wakanda ain't shooting each other. They're not stabbing each other. They're not killing each other. You know, when they had their music, it was all about inspirational music. It was all about raising the frequency. Even when they're celebrating the death of someone, it's a celebration. Nobody's sad. Even just changing the frequency of the way we are buried, start wearing white instead of wearing black. There's a lot of things that we have to change, but it's not going to come about simply by us just talking shit and complaining. So, and somebody posted Wakanda real quick. I just want to address this. Yes, Wakanda is a fictional place, but the reason that it resonates with melanated beings is because there was a Wakanda, and the Wakanda is called Eastern, no, I'm sorry, Upper and Lower Kemet, or Upper and Lower Egypt, was our Wakanda at one point. That if it wasn't a place, or it didn't resonate with us, we wouldn't be attached to it. People wouldn't be dressing up like Africans to go there, right? People wouldn't have been inspired. So we had that at one point. We had that glorious of glories at one point, and we have to get back to it. All right. So let's go into the presentation. All right, we're gonna do full screen. I ain't gonna see it. Some of y'all, let me see who's in here real quick. Shout out to Holly Vegeta. Shout out to Philip Boom. All right. And let's go into, y'all know I use a lot of slides, but I got a lot of books here too. Yeah, I mean, y'all know I use a lot of tabs, and a lot of y'all who follow me, but I got a lot of books here too. I'm gonna show y'all some of the books y'all can refer to, but you can actually just go to some of these websites, right, and look things up. All right, and we're going to, so let's set it up. 1 second, y'all. We're gonna share screen, entire screen, share audio. All right. Boom. All right. So let's go into part one. Okay, so there's a lot of talk about Yahweh, right? A lot of talk about Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton, right? Kyrie, Kanye, okay. Also, the interesting, Kyrie said that, his name translates into Yahweh or Elohim, things like that, right? It's interesting that this thing is coming up because, well, let's just go into it. So it says, and this is also going to be like a Jesus decoder, okay? So it says the truth is that Jesus' entire life, his teachings, miracles, and even his death and resurrection were all explanations and clarifications of God's holy name, Yahweh. Actually, let me change the how I want y'all to see this. Hold up. Because it ain't about me. All right. Let's do this. So it says the truth is that Jesus' entire life, his teachings, miracles, even his death and resurrection were all explanation and clarifications of God's holy name, Yahweh. Now, Yahweh, YHWH, all that is the four elements. It is as follows: fire, water, air, and earth. So the Y is fire, the H is water, the W is air, the H is earth. This is also, if you study the Kabbalah, it talks about the four elements of creation or the way things are created. The first elements are the first element of creation is an archetype. So I have a microphone right here, right? Before this microphone was created, someone had an archetype idea of an audio device that I could speak into and people all across the world will listen to. So that's the archetype. The second part of after that archetype, now you have to figure out what pieces do I need, right? What do I need to create a microphone? What do I need? Copper? Do I need a certain type of steel, right? What type of conductor? What type of plug, right? How do I get this plug inside a computer, right, where there's no outlet? So you have to think of the different patterns, right? Then there's the activity, right, which would be the W or the air part, right, of this creation. So the W is going to be the actual activity of creating the thing, right? So now I'm putting things into motion, right? I'm creating things I have. And it's interesting because if you think about water, right? First, again, Y is the archetype. The second is the pattern, right? Which is water. And if you think about water and how Bruce Lee said, be like water, my friend. You know, you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water in a cube, it becomes the cube, right? And to think about how you put things together in your mind to create something, even if it's just creating an article or creating a book or something like that, how you have to, in your mind, kind of put elements together, right? In order for it to become one. Then you have the air, which is you actually creating it, you actually putting the microphone together, right? Which is the W. And then you have the earth, which is now you have a microphone. Okay, now you have a microphone, it's here, it's there. So these four parts of creations, one is called, so the Y would be called absolute, the the H is called bria, and the W is yetzirah, and the last is Isaiah, right? Again, that's just really for my spiritual nerds out there. But basically, all you need to know is these sort of represent the four elements and the fourfold manifestation of creation. All things are created that way. If you study the Kabbalah, it also breaks down this fourfold manifestation of creation, right? Let's get into it. You see, Jesus' name was not Jesus. There is so much ignorance here. God is not God's name, and Jesus wasn't named Jesus. Okay? How many people went to church today and praised Jesus, right? Now, to me, my personal perspective, there was a Nazarene, right? A Nazarene priest in the East, right? That was very popular, a popular magi or magician, right? And people put this title of Jesus on him, right? It would be similar to, let's use for example, TD Jakes, right? Not TD Jakes, but specifically, but a personality like that, that was big, you know, larger than life, and was teaching, right? And was demonstrating success in their teaching, and they became popular. So that's what the Jesus was. It was just a Nazarene, that person that studied with the Essenes, right? Not this figure that is in the Bible. The Bible is basically a book, it's a grimoire, it's a magic grimoire where you can use a lot of these verses to manifest things and also to change behavior and also to eliminate, which is ultimately what magic should be about, personal spiritual development, right? And healing yourself and healing your chakras and things like that. So there's a lot of things you could do with uh with the Bible. But the Bible is ultimately, I mean, Jesus and his 12 disciples Jesus is just basically the Son, and the 12 disciples are the 12 zodiac signs, right? So the Bible is a book of astrology or astrotheology. Not to say there's no gems in it, but this book was created in the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD by Constantine, and Constantine brought in about 1,800 rabbis to create the Bible. So, yeah, it was a grand invention. So it says, we sing songs in church about Jesus. Jesus, there's something about that name. Well, indeed there is, but Jesus was not his name. Language lesson time. Jesus is the English version of the Greek word Iesus. Now remember, there's no J in Hebrew, right? So it would be Iesus of the Hebrew word Yashua, which was his name, right? A bit slower now. Jesus is English for a Greek word, Aishus, which is what the Greeks call Jesus. Jesus' original ministry was to the Jews, but over the course of time, Christianity spread to the Greeks, right? This is during what they call the Hellenistic period. The Hellenistic period was between, and it's easy to remember because of because of the numbers, but it was from 300 BC, so this is before Christ, to 300 AD. This is after Christ. And what happened is in 300 AD, the Christians started wilding and stabbing up and committing violence against anyone who didn't believe in them or believe in Christianity. And this is because the Christians were being oppressed. All right. The Roman circus, they would feed Christians to lions and things like that for fun. All right. So this is where you got a lot of people who even became Jewish because they saw what was happening, and it was like, okay, I'm not going to be Christian. And people, they had cults, different cults during the Hellenistic period too. Cults of Isis, cults of Asor. They had another cult of Serapis, right, who was a bastardized version of Orser mixed with Orset or Isis, right? So they had all these different cults and all these different people learning different things, right? The big death was there was an oracle in Alexandria, and this killing of this female oracle, right, was like the end of what they call the Hellenistic period. Even the term hell comes from that particular period of time. Let's keep going. The Greeks spoke obviously a different language. As the message of Christianity passed from the Hebrews to Greeks, okay, Jesus was no longer called according to God-given Hebrew name. The Hebrew was also before Christianity. Okay, so when you talk about the Hebrew was before a Jewish or Hebrew was before Christianity, way before Christianity, right? And it actually started in Ethiopia. Ethiopia, you see today, is a small landmass, but Ethiopia was at one point a big part of northern Africa. Okay, it was huge, going even stretching into the Sahara Desert. But according to the name that the Greeks want to call him, Isis, all right? So Jesus was no longer called according to his God-given name. So Isis is Greek for Joshua. Joshua is the English way we pronounce Yahshua. Pronounce Yahshua. For the record, you see it spelled many ways. Yeshua, Yahshua, Yeshua, blah, blah, blah. Converting Hebrew to English letters is more of an art than a precise science. So this is how it went. Yahshua, Isis, Jesus. Yahshua is spelled in Hebrew, YHSWH. Okay, now notice we had the Tetragrammaton that we broke down earlier, YHWH, but they added an S to make it Yahshua. Now, at one point, this was a name that could not be uttered, right? This was called a name that could not be uttered. And not Raul Nephrim, and A. Rashid broke this down beautifully by saying that Yahshua or Yahweh, not Yahshua, sorry, Yahweh was actually a sound that the heart makes when it beats, right? So it was the heartbeat sound like Yahweh, right? So it's the Hebrew. So look, it says Yahshua in Hebrew, right? Then this is the shin, right? If you see this, you notice this also looks like this part right here is the shin, and this also looks like Mercury, right? Not Mercury, sorry, Neptune. Neptune's Neptune's spear. Okay. So if you watch the movie Aquaman, right, and you see that what they call the trident, right, you also see this shin. Also in science, right, this was elucidated by a not Adika Butler, who I had on the channel. He broke down how in science this is also the wave function, right? This particular thing, shin. So here we go. The Hebrew letters we spell YHSWH. These letters are called Yad, Hey, Shin, Vav, Hey. And Hebrew is spelled right to left. So Jesus' name in Hebrew is spelled right, just like this, right? So it says, blessed is, so now where were we? Oh, yes, blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. Blessed is he who comes in the name of, right? So Jesus' name, Yahshua, is spelled Yad He Shin Vav He. So if you add the additional letter, which in Hebrew looks like a W, and you insert it into the center of Yahweh, you come up with Jesus' name, Yahshua or Yahweh. Okay. So pretty much what they added, if you take this particular wave function thing, it adds up to the number 300 in Hebrew gematria. This is basically a number 300 also in gematria adds up to the term Holy Spirit, right? So basically, by putting this letter shin in there, which is the 21st letter of the alphabet, of the Hebrew alphabet, 2 plus 1 equals 3, made this now a name that could be pronounced. So the name Jesus is actually a bastardized version of Yahweh or the Tetragrammaton. That comes from Jehovah too, right? It's the same thing. There's no J in Hebrew, right? So it would be I Jehovah. And the name Jesus is basically where the shin. So you have Jesus or Yahshua, right? Yahshua, which is another version of Yahweh. So Jesus is really the four elements and the Holy Spirit, or four elements, and what I call ether, right? Because air is spirit. Spirit means to breathe, the wind, or air. So air is already in spirit. So spirit can't be the fifth element. So the fifth element has to be ether, that which keeps all things together. The gods taught me that we come from triple stages of darkness. And that's also what the Egyptians taught me as well, or the Cometians. Let's keep going. Let me see if y'all still here. We going in. All right. So we going in. All right. So just want to cover that because that's been a big talking point. All right. Y'all who follow me know I've been talking about this forever. Okay. This is the meat and potatoes of this particular conversation. Y'all know I've been talking about this forever. Uh, the Ka and the Ba. All right. You have the Kaaba in Mecca. Okay. That the Muslims go and pray to. When the Muslims are praying to the Kaaba or walking around in a circle, in a clockwise circle, right? It's actually basically representing Saturn, okay? The rings of Saturn. And the cube, if you look on the top of Saturn, it has an hexagon. The hexagon is basically a cube. So Saturn, on the top of Saturn, is actually a cube. So Saturn is the planet that deals with restrictions. It deals with things being held back, okay? So you are in a physical body, right? This physical body, you can't fly like this bird. This physical body, you could get stabbed, shot, killed, fall, car accident, right? All type of bad things can happen to this physical body, right? But there is a spiritual body within you. The way you tap into the spiritual body, or the way that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have a spiritual body, is simply close your mouth, close your eyes, and you will see images and you will hear a voice. Close your eyes, close your mouth, go into silence, and you will hear a voice in your head talk to you. Now, depending on how much garbage, right, you listen to, or how much gossip, or how many movies, right, or how many things that don't impact yourself, your well being, that you're paying attention to, right, which is basically a lot of gossip, right? Reality shows or whatever, sports, right? Sports talk, things like that. You are not going to hear that voice. What you're going to hear is the voice of the people on the news. What you're going to hear is the voice of your mom, your cousin, your auntie, kids. What you're going to hear is the voice of the rapper, the singer. You're going to hear the voice of somebody on social media that you've been listening to. You might hear Brother Panic's voice. You might hear TD Jake's voice. You might hear Round FMN. You might hear Tariq Nasheed's voice, right? You might hear all, whoever. You might hear someone else's voice, but you won't hear yours. Okay. So the Ka, this is what they call the Ka, which was the physical body. This is called the Ba, which is the spirit. Okay. When you pass away, when you leave this physical body, this is the representation of you leaving that physical body, taking a piece of that Ka. Now, what is the Ka? I broke this down in many, many videos. I'm probably gonna have to do a standalone video on this, but many, many videos, so I won't go too deep into this. But so when we're talking about this Ka, we're talking about black body radiation. Okay, black body radiation. So forget all this math. We don't need none of that. All we need is this. Assuming the sun's surface emits as a black body. That's it. Okay. So the sun is basically black. Okay. Everything in the universe that is an animate object, everything that vibrates, right? Everything that vibrates, and we know nothing vibrates. Nothing stays still. Everything vibrates, right? Second law of the Kabbalion, the law of vibration. Second universal law. So this black body, right, is the foundation of who we are. The black body, the black body is the soul. It is what is radiating. It is what is within us. It is the source. It is what holds the ba or the breath, right? Because we know spirit, it's a Latin spiritus, means breath, to breathe or air. Okay. So this black body, radiation, the black body generates energy. Okay. When you are in bed or when you sleeping with someone, right? When you're having intercourse, right? You're having sex, right? You are not necessarily in your own body, right? It's two bodies that are merged, right? And children come from this merger. Okay. They come from the darkness, right? They come from the sperm hitting the egg, and it is in the darkness of the womb. You come from the darkness of the womb and then you come out and you're born as a physical being, but you come from the darkness of the womb. So everything starts out in darkness, including you. Okay, so everything has when science calls a black body radiation, and that black body radiation, as you see, is generated, or the radiation generates an electromagnetic field, which is the chakra colors or the rainbow colors. So these rainbow colors are electromagnetic radiation. So when you see the sun looking yellow or looking red, it's not really yellow or red. You're not really black or white or green or purple or yellow or orange or whatever, right? What you really are is the black body radiation. The black body radiation is what a comedic scientist and philosopher would call the waters of Nu that are in you. Okay, it will be the waters of Nu that are in you, or another name would be the land of Amenta. Okay, so that's what black body radiation is, and a normal scientist here would call black body radiation um well, we would call it black body radiation, right? But a philosopher would call this the soul. Okay, so the soul is the source of all things. The soul, or the black body, is feminine. All right, and we're going to go into that a little later. All right, so let's see how this all started. Okay, let's see how this all started. Actually, let me pull this up so I can see y'all comments, because y'all be dropping sometimes some Not sometimes, but a lot of times y'all be dropping some big jewels in the comment section. Um, let me see what y'all talking about, and I'll respond here because I got it on full screen. All right, so we're gonna get into the meat of this. All right, Kenton Robinson, what's a good book for beginners in Kabbalah? It's a good question. I'm gonna drop the screen for this. Hold up. So a good, you want to get this, Kenyon. Get this. Can't really see it because I got the green screen. Let me remove the green screen real quick. All right, you're going to hold up because I want you to see this. Damn, is it gonna come up? All right. Well, maybe it didn't remove, right? But yo, I thought I removed it, but it didn't remove. But anyway, hold up. But let me make sure I'm not jamming myself up. Give me 1 second, y'all. Because it's like, yo, I'm gonna give you green screen regardless. Oh, let me do this. Sorry, I did the wrong thing. That's why I still up. All right, boom. So you want to get this. This is a quick chart you can get on the Kabbalah, right? Another good book. I don't necessarily use the Kabbalah, but I use it to teach because I know more people are familiar with the Kabbalah. I pretty much use what the Cometians or the Egyptians called the Part Neteru, which Raul Nefermen in Metal Netter did beautifully. I would recommend this book, but it's a very heavy book, and I wouldn't recommend it for beginners. But you could get this chart on Amazon. It says it's the Kabbalah chart. It breaks it down front to back, right? Very well. A lot of detail, right? And you can start with this. Put this under your pillow at night, right? Sleep with it. You'll gain more knowledge, right? And it'll break things down. So I would recommend that now. I would recommend that for you if you want to learn Kabbalah, all right? Let me put my screen back on. Give me 1 second. All right. So yeah, Ken, this there's not even that much money. Like it's not even that much money. You could probably get it for less than $10 on Amazon. I think when I got it, it was like $8. All right. So let's go further. So hopefully I broke everything down. So let's go into this the meat and potatoes stuff y'all really gonna like. All right. This is the stuff y'all really gonna like. So look at this. Kanye, right? K West. So David Bowie in 1972, right? Right. The number is 10. 9 plus 1 is 10. 7 plus 2 is 9, right? So you have 19, right? 9 plus 1 is 10, right? So it's going to bring you to the number 10. You're going to see the number 10 play out in this particular discussion that we're having. Okay. So when you see, so you see it right here, K West, right? And it says David Bowie predicted the rise of Kanye West in 1972, according to this Bonker theory. Now, David Bowie, I don't have it here because I didn't have any as much tab space left to put more tabs up. But David Bowie actually dropped a new video, a new album, I believe, or album and video, I believe, which has a lot of like psychedelic images, right, and a lot of his music in it. And he dropped it this week, in this month of November, which is very interesting. This 11th month, all right. But this adds up to 10. You'll see that number play out again. But you see K West right there, right on top, okay. And he has a particular song, right, where he has his last album. This theory goes on to cite the last album Bowie released days before his death from cancer in January. All right, the LB is called Black Star. Okay, remember we're talking. I just showed you black body radiation. I just showed you the Ka. I showed you that black body radiation is the soul. People who telling you that some people don't have souls, I need to see the science, right? Because there's the science doesn't match. I'm not only showing you myth, but I'm showing you actual science. So if you're saying that or Caucasian people don't have black body radiation, I need to see some docs. You know what I'm saying? I need some proof. Anyway, it says the LP is called Black Star, and the title track appears to predict Bowie's death and replacement by a new Black Star. Okay. It says something happened on the day he died. Spirit rose the meter and stepped aside. Somebody else took his place and bravely cried, "I'm a Black Star." All right. And it says that this claim that this refers to Kanye taking his place as an icon of music. Okay. And the song continues, "I'm a black star. I'm a black star. I'm not a gangster." Okay. Now we all know Kanye is not a gangster rapper. In fact, when Kanye dropped, he was the antithesis of everything gangster, and everything gangster was popular and rap when Kanye dropped his first album, The College Dropout. Okay? It says the third track on the album is called Lazarus, after the biblical character who died and was brought back to life by Jesus. Okay? Kanye released his last album, Yeezus, at the same time as Black Star. Okay? Just Kanye was subject to a 17-minute rant. That's the number 8. We're going to see this 8 play out, okay, as well. All right? And this is Kanye's album, the track I Am God, right? And it says, lead the crackpot theorist, right? Now, they always call these things crackpot to try to, remember, crazy is the way they dismiss you, okay? Crazy is the way they dismiss you. And it says the conspiracy first emerged in 2007 on a blog called the Kanye West David Bowie Conspiracy. Okay, so you could read this whole article, right? But this was 40 years ago. Okay, and he predicted the rise of Kanye West. Okay, what do you see is mostly the background of the album, darkness. Okay, blackness. All right, and green, which is color synonymous to the heart chakra, right, is prominent, and yellow, which is for the sacral chakra, emotional health, emotional healing. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. We have the House of the Dragon, and this is where this all started. Okay, the House of the Dragon, House Valerian, right? You have Corliss, you have Corliss, right? This is the first time in the Game of Thrones franchise where they had melanated characters, right? So you have Corliss, and I'm not talking about how they're depicted, how the black son Lenor, he was gay, and we that's not what we're talking about. I'm just strictly talking about the symbolism. If you understand the symbolism, or they were now, let's just get into the details. Their particular family, they ran, I believe it's called River Run, right? But you see this particular emblem, the seahorse, right? Now, the seahorse in science, you have something in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala looks just like a seahorse. What happens is you take in things through, you take, what happens is you have a feeling. Let's say, I like to use dogs. So let's say a dog's coming at you, right? Dog's running at you, right? And somehow you escape. You may have trauma because of dogs. What happens is you have the seahorse, right, in your brain, with the amygdala would take this, right, and stores it in the brain as an emotional response. So every time you see a dog, your amygdala will respond emotionally. It'll send a message to your hippocampus. This now sends a message to your thyroids and your other glands. I'm forgetting the name right now, but it sends messages to your body that you should either fight or flight or rest and digest, depending on the sends hormones through your body, which are basically liquid messages on what your body should do in a particular occurrence, right? So, but basically, these are people that work with the water. Now, when you're talking about water, you're also talking about darkness because deeper in depth you go in the water, if you watch any National Geographic or anything like that, it's super dark. All right. There's almost no light. You can't, there's, matter of fact, there's no light. Not almost, there's no light. The deeper you go in the waters, it's pure darkness. Right. So they have this dark skinned man, Corliss, right? And his melanated family become part of this particular house. I believe it's called River Run again. All right. So again, more darkness, depths, and now we're going into water. Let's keep going. And again, this goes into how they're controlling, how we're actually the control of this check sport is shift. All right. Now, this particular brother's name is Steve Toussaint, the sea snake. Okay. Steve Toussaint. Now, in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Toussaint was Black Panther's son's name. His son was named Toussaint, right? At the end of Black Panther. His son's name was Toussaint, right? And the sea snake was who? The sea snake was Namor. So it's the first time they had a black family in the Game of Thrones franchise in House of the Dragon. The dragon is also a symbol of Kundalini energy rising. Okay. So the dragon is a symbolism for Kundalini energy or that fire energy rising in the body. All right. That's one of the symbols of the dragon. So when we talk about rising Kundalini, we're basically talking about tapping into the rainbow, tapping into this rainbow where we oscillate our radiation, or or where the energy in us is radiating these different light frequencies from our black body, right? Or from the black body radiation that we all have. Let's continue going. Next, we have Black Adam. Okay. Black Adam, right, came out, right? His name was Teth Adam. Okay. If you look at Black Adam, he has a particular bolt on his chest, right? He has this lightning bolt on his chest. And his name was Teth Adam. Let's go into Teth. Okay. Now, Teth, it says the Phoenician letter name Teth may mean spinning wheel. Okay. You know what chakra means? Spinning wheel. Okay. So Teth or spinning wheel atom, right? Or spinning atom, ATOM, okay? This is talking about the raising again of frequency, the raising of Kundalini, the raising of the house of the dragon, right? That Toussaint energy. We all know, well, maybe we don't know, but Toussaint Overture is one of the heads or one of the leaders of the Haitian rebellion, right? Who kicked out the French, kicked out France, and fought for their independence. They're one of the first countries that got rid of slavery and abolished slavery because they fought for it. All right. So Toussaint, right, and this character in the House of the Dragon, right, Corliss, with this particular amygdala sign or the House of Valerian, which again, this is a raising of frequency, a raising of energy into Black Adam, which you see he has basically a thunderbolt, which is a um, not only a Shango symbol, right, but it also symbolizes energy, and it also is a symbol of the Kabbalah. We'll talk about that shortly. But Teth is spinning wheel, all right. Teth right here, it means spinning wheel, okay. So dealing with the raising of the chakras, and you see in that movie, he wasn't taking no shorts, right? Black Adam was not playing, right? He wasn't trying to hear it, right? He, he wanted to basically, he was another character who wanted to burn the world, right? Same thing that Shuri wants to do in Black Panther. But this is also talking about a raising of darkness, right? The black atom, right? It's talking about the raising of foundational energy, the raising of Kundalini energy, the raising of the chakras, right? The raising of the dragon. Let's keep going. So you see, he has that bolt, right? Also, this is called the path of the flaming sword on the Kabbalah, right? Now, if you look at Black Adam, you see this bolt. It's the same actual pattern, right? It's the same pattern. You can look at them side to side on your own. You see it's the same pattern, okay? So it was just the beginning. And this is Prince Arthur. The story of Arthur is, or Prince Arthur, right, was really about this flaming sword path going from Keta to Chokmah Bina. And this is basically a path of manifestation, but the Kabbalah is also a map of energy or a map of spirituality, and also an initiation system as well, right? There's a lot that's in the Kabbalah. Cometians or people from Kemet or Egyptians would call this the part Netzeru, and there's different deities and all that, right? Black Adam turns Hawkman into a major hypocrite, right? Now, Hawkman, of course, this is a symbol of raising the energy as well, right? But this is Hawkman, and Black Adam was, and we see it looks like he has a little House of Dragon sigil right here, right? Or symbol on his chest, right? Just to show you how these things are lining up as we continue to go into this. All right, so Hawkman, he has the same colors as Iron Man, right? Iron Man had this same color scheme, this red and yellow, this crimson and yellow color scheme. And what he did was he's saying that this particular article is saying that he was trying to tell Black Adam not to kill, right? That heroes don't kill, that heroes are peaceful, that heroes save people. That's all they do, right? And Black Adam was a killer, right? He was like, yo, I'm killing everything to get to where I need to go, right? He was high fire. He was that flaming sword energy, right? He was that Kundalini energy rising. He was that dragon in the movie Black Adam, right? But he was a hypocrite, right? Because basically, what made him a hypocrite was that he was working for. Matter of fact, I don't even need to go to it. He was working for Amanda Waller, right? Amanda Waller was a killer. She's the head of the Suicide Squad. If you follow the movie, she leads the Suicide Squad. So how you gonna say, yo, we the Justice League of America, we don't kill, right? We save people and we just throw them in jail, but you working for a killer, right? So the hawk symbol is also synonymous to the falcon symbol, which would be Heru, right? But this is a corrupted form of Heru or corrupted form of the hero. This is what happens when you look to politicians, when you look to the government for help, when you think a politician or a government agent is going to help you or is going to look out for you, or Trump or Biden or Hillary or whoever has, or Stacey Abrams has your best interest in heart. Nah, they not heroes. They work for killers. You know what I'm saying? They give the appearance of a hero, but they really working for killers at the end of the day. So that's the science of Hawkman, all right? And the science of the government. Like I said, he looks like Iron Man. There's like two movies with in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Age of Ultron, right? That Iron Man is directly responsible for, and Captain America: Civil War, which Iron Man is directly responsible for, right? Iron Man is the one who created Ultron because he wanted to protect the world. Secondly, Iron Man is the one who wanted to initiate the Sokovia Accords. If you watch the movie Iron Man, okay, so he's the one who's responsible for both of these particular. He's the one responsible for both of those tragedies happening, right? So he was a hypocrite too. He said he was like, yo, I want to save the world. I want to save everybody, but really all he was serving was his ego, right? So this is the bastardation or um the when you look for a government, right, and you see these people both have metal on, when you're looking for a government, right, to be your god, or you're looking at the politicians to be your god and your saviors, they can never, okay? The Iron Man can never be the Ogun. Ever. All right. Let's keep going. Now we've been seeing Kanye West. He's been wearing a lot of black lately. Okay. He's been wearing a lot of black and white. This was him at the Balenciaga fashion show, right? Wearing black and white here. And you're gonna see this theme play out a lot. All right. Let's go into and David Bowie again. His wife was named Iman or Amen, right? So it's David Bowie before he transitioned, right? David Bowie, well, he transitioned in 2016. All right, but he was dipping from 1992 to 2016. He was dipping in this melanated reservoir. All right, so of course his last album, of course he predicted Kanye West, and of course his last album would be called Black Star. Okay, of course his last album would be called Black Star because David Bowie was dipping in Iman for quite some time, tapping into that dark reservoir of energy, tapping into that mother energy, that Isis energy. All right. So now, oh, this shouldn't even be here, but let's go into the Takeoff. All right. Again, you see Takeoff in black and white or yin yang colors, right? This is the same. This is his last picture, right? And it says to stop, and it said stop breathing, right? Got to be careful what you put out into the universe, okay? Because little did he know this would be the last picture, and the day he took his last breath, okay? Then he was playing a song by Playboy Cardi. He said, "Stop breathing." All right, we're going. So you see, he has black and white on. This was on Halloween. He died in the morning of on the 1st of November. So 11/1, 111. Okay, 111, which adds up to 3. All right. Now, this we've seen this 3 in the shin right here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The letter shin, which again is translated, it's the 21st letter of the Hebrew alphabet. That's a 3, right? And the math is 300, which means the Holy Spirit, right? So he died on 11/1. That's a 3. Okay. Let's continue. And again, I'm just putting this together to show you how now sometimes again, I'm not of the disposition that if someone dies that it's always a conspiracy, right? This one, the Takeoff thing, has a little bit of conspiracy in it, but I don't think there was a conspiracy for him to dress this way. I think he dressed this way because he wanted to, right? And I think it's a sign and symbol for the universe. Because you see, spirit does not care, right? Spirit does not care what soul it needs to use to make its point. I'm going to say this again. Spirit does not care what soul or vessel it needs to make its point. If it's Takeoff, if it's this nigga dying, if it's somebody living longer, if it's somebody being saved, right? Whatever it needs to make a point, Spirit will use that vessel to make a point. And the fact that he's wearing black and white is a reason. Now, of course, we have the Masonic checkerboard or the chessboard that is black and white. Why it's not coming up right now, I don't know. Oh, here it is. All right. So this is the checkered floor of Freemasonry. You may have seen this in many videos like Cardi B's Money, a lot of Katy Perry videos, right? Et cetera, et cetera. We've seen it on even Cardi B's album cover, right? You've seen the black and white on the album cover, the checkerboard, the floor of Freemasonry is right there. Now, what does this mean? What does the checkered floor of Freemasonry mean? The checkered floor of Freemasonry basically means what is the floor? A floor is a foundation, right? You walk on the floor, you move on the floor, right? Shoot, your bed is whatever you have under your bed to keep it up is on the floor, right? Your dresses, whatever, right? Your car in the garage is on the floor, right? So the floor is the foundation. With the black and white of the checkered floor of Freemasonry, what that means is that they control what's good, what's evil, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, right? They tell you what's right, what's wrong. They they control the foundation of what you will think, right? At one point, as I've said before, Freemasonry was not always bad. It was not always as evil as it is now. Freemasonry is supposed to Freemasonry is supposed to build a man. That's the Masonic or the my son point. Is supposed to build a man. My son is Masonry. My son is directly from Orset or Isis, right? The image of the Black Madonna feeding the baby, right? That's my son right there. But Mace, so this is where they even got the name Masonry, right? But Mace, because what's a mother doing? A mother is building up her child, right? She's going to build up her son to become a man, right? And it's all taken from the myth of Orset, where Heru, the son, the son, Heru is basically going to war with Set, right? To basically and there's different forms of Heru. There's Heru the younger, Heru the elder, but they're going to war with Set so that they could basically resurrect their father, right? And their father is in the underworld. But Freemasonry was all about building yourself, developing yourself, learning, right? And it's been corrupted now to where they're like, oh, trust science. Oh, yeah, your child could take puberty blockers at 9, 10. There's nothing wrong with that. If they feel like they're a girl, even though they're a boy, hey, let them take puberty blockers and be a girl. They can't drive at 19, but hey, they sure could get their penis chopped off. That's what the foundation is, right? The foundation is, oh, this is the nutritional table, right? Yeah, you gotta drink milk. Milk is good for the bones. Milk is good for the body. When cow milk is terrible for the body. Pasteurized milk is horrible for your body, right? These are the things, and they have this new bill that's coming out. I believe it's something HP 4020, something like that, where they're trying to regulate the use of herbs now and mineral oils and essential oils and things like that. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. The reason it's called the FDA Food and Drug Administration because they know that food is a drug, right? People are addicted to food. People are addicted to the high and the taste that these foods give, right? So again, the foundation is them telling you what's right and what's wrong. Okay. That has is starting to shift. It's obvious that it's starting to shift. And it had to start with the whole Yahweh Jesus conversation that Kyrie and Kanye were bringing forth, right? Kyrie, Kanye, right? Kyrie, Kanye. Even Takeoff's a name, his middle name is Kyrie, right? So you have Ka, right? Ka. And I told you that this black body is the Ka, okay? This black body radiation is the Ka. Black body radiation, that's the foundation, that is the Ka. So it's no coincidence that all these people with this particular frequency, right, are generating this particular energy, right? Um this particular vibration. Let's keep going. And obviously Takeoff died. He was playing with what? Dice. Okay. Dice, black and white. All right. And actually they say Quavo was the one rolling the dice, right? But still Dice was in the area, right? They were rolling dice. So Dice is also black and white, the same as the Masonic floor. Okay. Remember, the darkness is the depths, all right? The darkness is the subconscious mind. The darkness is where you were when you were in the womb, right? Surfing from a sperm to a zygote to what do they call a fetus, right? Until you become who you are now. Now you're a fully grown adult, right? But it starts from that darkness. It starts even from the darkness of the sperm being in your daddy's nutsack, right? Before it even goes into the vagina. So you're in, so the darkness is the source of all things, right? So let's go into it, right? You think things from the darkness into the light. Also, now this was their album cover that they dropped maybe a week before, right? Look at Takeoff's pendant. Now you see the black and white, right? You see the eight. Also, Takeoff died at 28, right? So this is the number 10. So that number's playing again, right? But it's the number 10. And eight, you see the number of the Infinity Links, right? Only Built for Infinity Links was their album. And he has this particular medallion. It looks like an African tribal mask, right? It looks like a tribal mask that someone would put on. When Africans put on that tribal mask, right, it wasn't just for show. It wasn't just to dress up for Halloween. When they put on that mask, they were basically saying that this particular spirit I am putting on, right? I am basically invoking a spirit. All those African tribal masks are about invoking a spirit. It's not about just, like people do in Halloween now, it's just for dress up. No, it's about invoking a spirit, invoking a deity, invoking a certain type of energy. All right. So I don't know what this particular. I was trying to find something that what this was. I couldn't, but maybe y'all know in the comments. Put in the comments. I'd like to know myself. But as you see, it's the same black and white theme. All right. Because it's not only the same black and white theme of the chessboard. You see, they have America here and the Infinity Links. Okay. Sometimes things happen. Again, spirit uses who they need to use for a certain reason. Okay. And also, not only that, but just for the violence, right? The violence aspect of this shit, right? Of rappers just shooting each other and killing each other, right? It's a big wake up call in one of the most popular groups. If not, I would dare to say, besides Drake, Migos is probably the most popular rap group right now, right? Most popular rappers right now is Migos and Drake, right? Or what was Migos. So all this attention, right, that happens is puts a spotlight on things, right? I ain't hear about another rapper die since Takeoff died. Now, still early. You still got time. The year's not over. But I haven't heard of another rapper die since. Okay? So there's a sign and symbol in all this. All right. Now, where did he die? He died in Houston. Okay. He died in Houston. I want to show you this is the mascot of the Houston Rockets. Okay. And this is now we're going into the frequency or the energy of what we're supposed to do. It's crazy. It's just pulled up an infinity symbol. I can't. I wish I could show y'all. Can't make this shit up though. Where so we on point. All right. So Clutch, as you see, his name is Clutch, right? Somebody was clutching a rocket to kill Takeoff. Okay. When you look at Clutch, I want to show you how everything is lining up. All right. Now, there's a particular. Now, Clutch was there. He died in Houston. The World Series was going on at that time, right? This is the Philly mascot, right? It's called the Philly Fanatic, right? He's the color green. The color green corresponds to the heart chakra, right? As you see, he has a big ass. I don't know if that's his nose or mouth, but I'm thinking that's the mouth, right? People been doing a lot of talking, right, with this Kai energy, this Kanye, Kyrie, right? Even Kyrie, right? Takeoff and them, they were on Drink Champs. Takeoff and Quavo were on Drink Champs a week before he died, right? And he was talking about how he needs his flowers, all right? How he needs to be recognized while he's alive, you know? So again, this is all people that are calling for recognition for who they truly are historically, for the depths of who they are and recognizing the depths of who they are. Let's keep going. So they were playing the Phillies. The Astros mascot is also green. Okay. Again, a note to the heart chakra, a note to healing. And his name is Orbit. Okay. Well, it's the Houston Astros. His name was Orbit. Now, Orbit also alludes to NASA. I've been to the NASA Central Center. I used to live in Houston a while back. But it's funny how both of these mascots are green, dealing with the heart chakra, and also Takeoff was killed, right? Also, let's continue. It's the person who designed Takeoff's album cover. I follow him on Instagram. I like his art, but his name is Hebrew Brantley. As you see, Exhibit A, Hebrew Brantley. If you take out the B, if you Hebrew sounds a lot. There's two things in his name Hebrew, which I thought was interesting, right? Hebrew also sounds like Hebrew, right? Hebrew sounds like Hebrew, which has been the big discussion that's been going on, the Hebrew roots, right? Even talking about something like the Kabbalah, right? The Kabbalah comes from Jewish mysticism, right? Jewish mysticism is where the Kabbalah comes from, right? But the roots to even that is deep, right? Because it goes back to Ethiopia. Then you go back from Ethiopia, it goes all the way back to Kemet. So you're always going to have to go back to Egypt. You're always going to have to go back to Kemet. You're always going to have to go back to that source, right? So this is what happened. So Hebrew Brantley, right? But if you take out the B, you also have Heru, right? You also have Heru. So check this out, right? This is one of his art pieces, right? Let's go back to Clutch, riding the rocket, right? This is where he died in Houston, right? Looks the same to me. Okay. Now, also, you see it's on a black and white floor. All right. More of the same theme. I can't make this up. Okay. Black and white floor, just like the Masonic floor, just like what Takeoff was wearing. And then you look, you see Takeoff on the rocket. Okay. You see Takeoff on the rocket, just like Clutch. Okay. He's on the same rocket, just like the art that he made. All right. So, Heru Brantley, all right. Again, we're looking at the signs and symbol, all right. Also, he has on a yellow shirt, right, dealing with the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra deals with emotional intelligence, all right. Emotional intelligence is energy intelligence. If you can't manage your emotions correctly, it'll get you in trouble. It'll get you locked up. It'll get you shot. It'll put you in a position where you don't want to be. You might get stabbed, cut, killed, right? If you're not emotionally intelligent, or put yourself in a negative position, right? Let's go back to David Bowie, right? Just showing you more symbolism and signs that you could look at as you see the yellow right here when it comes to Kanye West, right? Dealing with that sacral chakra energy, and you see the green door right here and the black background of the buildings. I can't make this up. I'm just showing you how everything is linking up. All right. Now, so we have the Heru energy. All right. The rising of, you see, he's rising in space. So we have that Heru energy. And he's rising with what? A green tip and blue, rising up, losing at the, looking at the symbolism, right? Looking at this, the symbolism, the rising up to what? That blue or that pineal gland, right? That ajna chakra, that third eye chakra. All right. Now let's continue. So we have Hebrew or Heru Brantley, right? Now, what happens next? The next day, 11/2, after Takeoff dies, Elon Musk launches the Falcon Heavy rocket. Okay. The Heru energy is super, what they call the super Heru or the superhero energy. Heru is willpower, right? Basically represents willpower. It represents the Falcon's ability to hunt precisely, the Falcon has the best vision out of all the birds, right? The Falcon's abilities. Falcons are master hunter, right? But the Falcon, when you're dealing with the spiritual system or the spiritual symbolism, the Falcon is Heru. Heru is the Falcon, and the Falcon deals with will. Will is essentially mind over matter, right? So this is where we get into controlling the Masonic chessboard, because it's saying that, look, these symbols, right, even with Takeoff's death, right, the Heru, let's go back, the heart, right, going into orbit, right, going into higher frequencies is Astro's orbit mascot, right? The heart going into fire frequencies, you speaking your truth, you using your words, your affirmations, right? Praying, speaking things into existence, bigging up yourself. I am great, I am wonderful, I am abundant, I am powerful, I am wise, right? All these things that you need to feed the heart, right? Because the heart is actually has more neurons that there's more neurons that go from the heart to the brain to the heart. So the heart is actually your first brain. Okay. The heart is actually your first brain. This is why the heart needs to be healed, right? And it has to go on a rocket. Okay. So I'm not gonna say like most people would say, oh, they use this energy to launch a motherfucking rocket. They launch rockets all the time. I hate to tell you, but SpaceX launches rockets all the time, like tens of twenties and sometimes, right? Because they're launching all sorts of satellites for Skynet. All these satellites for the Skynet, right? Or they call it Starlink, but I call it Skynet because for me that's really what it is. Starlink satellites, right? Let's keep going. So, what do I mean by Heru? Right? Let's break this down. What's the law of Heru? You can get this from the book. Uh, my aunt is right here. My aunt, the 11 laws of God. They have here 11 laws of Netter, but it's my aunt, the 11 laws of God. You could copy this, look this up. You can look at all these different laws for all these different deities. This is what they call the Part Neteru. It is the Kabbalah, but the Egyptian version of where the quote unquote Jews got the Kabbalah from. They got it from Kemet, the Egyptian version, right? Really, you could tie it to Sargon the Great, but I don't want to go too deep and lose y'all. But if you research Sargon the Great, it's the same story of Moses. Okay, Sargon of Akkad or the Sargon the Akkadian. It's the same story as Moses. So when we're talking about Heru, it says this is what it be. This Heru is the falcon. All right, it's the falcon. This is what it looks. What the falcon deity. And it says, you have the power, but not the right to ignore God's law. Choose to follow the law of God with the love and joy that grows out of your understanding, and the wisdom and power of God's Spirit will flow through your being. So it says, you have the power, but not the right to ignore God's law, right? Reasoning. If we have been given free will, why should we give into emotions that have been proven to be detrimental to our well being? Why not choose to be at peace in all situations of challenge, especially since this is the key to wisdom, power, and happiness? Okay. So, and these are some affirmations. I understand that at any time I have the freedom to act as if I have successfully overcome a given emotion. So, you have the freedom to act like whatever is troubling you, whatever is addicting, whatever you're addicted to, right? Let's say I know trying to stop smoking cigarettes, right? Or trying to stop drinking. I used to drink a lot, right? Stopping drinking. You have to ignore it, right? Shit. Let's go into even let's go into like whoremongering, right? Running around with a ton of women, right? There comes a point where you have to say, nah, I don't care if they're coming at me or they're talking to me. I'm gonna chill, right? You have to stop smoking cigarettes. These different things you have to even simply when you break up with someone, right? When you're going through a breakup with someone, you have to ignore them, right? The first thing anybody that knows about or that's really worth their metal in any type of relationship coaching is going to tell you to, you're going to have to ignore, avoid going to places y'all went together, block their number, delete their social media, right? Don't be watching them on social media, looking at what they're doing, right? Separate yourself so that you can have a clear head and think for yourself, right? And use your own free will. And then over time, after a while, you could decide if you want to be with that person or not. But you have to go through and this is advice, relationship advice, right? If you're in a relationship and you break up with somebody, it's somebody you don't want to be with, right? Cut off all. Don't go to places y'all went together. Like cut off all communication, all connection, right? And you have to basically ignore that person, even though your emotions might like, damn, really want to hang out. I really want to go to the movies. I really miss cuddling with her, right? I really, I miss us fucking twiddling our toes under the sheets, right? Shit like that, right? You got to ignore that. So my freedom to choose is the essence of my divinity. That's willpower, right? Willpower is when you have the craving for ice cream at 2 a.m. and you say, nah, I'm not going to do it. That's mind over matter, right? You have a craving for a cigarette. You say, nah, I'm not going to do it. That's mind over matter. You have a craving to go back to that crazy woman or that crazy guy, right? Because the sex is good. And you say, nah, it ain't worth it. I'm not going to do it. That's Heru, right? That's true willpower. Not when you are emotionally compelled to do something. If it takes you to be inspired to do everything right or to walk a certain path or to do your work or somebody always has to motivate you, you always need to be motivated, then you're still stuck in the bottom three of the tree of life, which would be these. Not going to go into it now, maybe another time, but yes, you see, I still got mad tabs to go. So it says, I will, therefore I am free. I am never compelled to do anything by emotions and passion. God does not compel me to do what is right. How then can the animal within me compel me to do what is wrong? Shall I make Set greater than God? Set is where you get the whole Satan idea of Satan, but Set was not Satan, right? Set is not necessarily Satan, as in the Christian Bible or Christianity is. Set is particularly Satan means adversary, and Set was the adversary of Heru, but that's it, right? Not some tormentor that is somewhere out there in the sky and is making you do bad things, right? That is when you are giving away your response, you are giving away your Heru, right? You are giving away your self responsibility. Even though it doesn't say it here, Heru is really about self responsibility. It's taking responsibility for your divinity. It's taking responsibility for your personal growth and your spiritual development. It's taking responsibility for you coming into becoming a magician or becoming the magic, right? Where you don't really need tools, where you are the tool. Your will, your mind is the tool, and you're able to manifest things strictly by thought alone. And you're able to get more downloads, and you're able to see more quote unquote coincidences, right? Those coincidences are great. When you see coincidences, when you see things line up, like I'm showing you now, right? It's giving you a pattern so you can understand the present, the future, and the past, right? This gives you more knowledge and more awareness and more understanding, right? So, and this is what culture is really about, right? It's not having culture just so you could say, I'm this, I'm Kemetic, or I'm Egyptian, or I'm Hebrew, or I'm an occultist, right? And you could think you're better than somebody because you're not, right? No one's better than anybody, right? You may be doing things differently, but you're not better than anyone, right? We all pee and poop the same way. So it's really just about your spiritual development and you reaching the highest height or the most high within you. All right. So it's about mastering your emotions. Okay. Not necessarily being a slave to your emotions, which most people are. Somebody gets shot tomorrow, Monday morning, you're going to see the whole conversation shift. If a black person gets shot by a cop tomorrow, you see the whole thing shift from people want to know Hebrew history and understand what Kyrie and them is talking about to people now complaining and whining, right? When during this time, they could be setting up buffers and systems so that these things don't happen again. And basically by hacking the motherfucking system, right? All systems can be hacked, including the government, all right? All systems can be hacked. And that's all I'll say on this public platform. But there's plans and ideas that could really happen. So that is the energy that is the energy that that particular sign and symbol was saying that it's our turn to control the chessboard. It's time for the hero. It's time for the falcon. Time for the falcon to step up. Okay, it's time for the falcon to take off. It's time for the falcon to launch. It's time for the rocket to move. It's time for the control. And these are the beginning statements. It's time for us to take orbit. All right. And it's time for us to speak on it, speak from the heart, right? And it's time for us to clutch that responsibility and not give it to anyone else. We can ride the rocket, okay? Only you could ride the rocket, really. And when you are riding your rocket, everyone else can see you riding your rocket and maybe it'll inspire them. But your job is to find other rocket riders, okay? Other people that are developing and growing. All right. And that's from now up until infinity, right? For us to change and transform and link. All right. And so that is that. So we got this so let's go into this real quick. So we got this hoe. Let me not call him a hoe, man, because he's just doing what he's programmed to do, right? But we got this guy, right, talking that basically do Kyrie Irving under the bus while wearing a hat for Jackie Robinson, right? Which is very interesting, right? Because if you see, look at his shirt, he has a triangle that's going down, right? Now in the Kabbalah, right, this would basically be, or the, excuse me, part Neteru, this would basically be those bottom chakras, those bottom sephirots, or those bottom three deities. Again, we'll get into it now, maybe another video, but if you understand the Kabbalah, you know what I'm talking about, right? This would be just the astral triangle. And he's weighing 42 for Jackie Robinson. Now, Jackie Robinson was a person that had to take a lot of shit in order to join the remember there was a Negro League when Jackie Robinson was playing. The Negro League was already popping. The Negro League had talent. And they took Jackie Robinson from the Negro League and put him in Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson going to the Negro League, leaving the Negro League and going into the MLB, Major League Baseball, ultimately caused other so-called black players to now go to leave the Negro League and go to Major League Baseball, which basically crushed the Negro League, right? So the Negro League was its own thing, ran by black people, owned and operated by black people because they couldn't play in Major League Baseball. Now, what would be the version of that? Because again, what I'm doing is alchemy, right? I'm not looking at what the negative is and the doom and gloom and what the bad thing is. What could have happened is the Negro League could have stayed afloat, but instead of it just being Negroes, you could add white people, you could add Spanish people, you could add people from wherever, right? And start and have your league, right? When instead of calling it the legal league, call it the Heru League or call it something else, right? Or just call it the league or whatever, right? And you could have, and that's where we have to get to the point to where you see when you see what people of other cultures do is when they name their businesses and they yeah, when they title their businesses or use logos, they use a lot of symbolic imagery, like Starbucks is using Yemaya, right? Or set as an image on a Starbucks cup. Sirius radio, right? Using the dog star imagery, right? And so forth and so on. We have to start doing that with our businesses, calling it the black this and the black that and the black this is great, but all money is green, right? And you could have your quote unquote black business where you run it, but hire people of all cultures and races and creeds. The only difference is you're running it, right? You're the owner, you're the shot caller. You say what it is and you say what it isn't. You are controlling that checkerboard. You're saying what's right, you're saying what's wrong. So instead of this all black utopia, it should be a utopia for all mankind, right? And how it's going to be run is going to be run by principles that are of the highest order and the highest ethics because of the way we think. Melanated people, we love everybody. We forgive everybody. You know what I'm saying? We have kind hearts, and the way that we'll be able to run these businesses and these corporations will be way different. We'll still be able to put the flavor in a Dorito without the Dorito having all these additives that'll kill you, right? Because that's the way we think. We want to help everybody. We want everybody to be level with each other. We want everybody to have fun with each other, right? We ain't really trying to have drama. But if we got to go to war, there's a warrior class among us that if we have to go to war, we will. And that needs to be nurtured as well, right? From a different perspective than it is now, than the rappers and the drillers got. So anyway, let's go into this. So he wore this basically pooped on Kyrie's whole thing, right? But he's still stuck in the matrix, obviously, right? And first, second, third of all, entertainers can't lead you. A sports player is an entertainer. A rapper is an entertainer. A singer is an entertainer. No matter how popular they are, no matter how much you love their music, no matter how much you love how they play the game, no matter how handsome or beautiful you think they cannot be the people that lead a society. First of all, LeBron is studying plays, right? He's studying pick and rolls and three man weaves, and same thing as Kyrie. They're stuck in there. That's what their focus is on. Kyrie said it himself. He started reading and studying when during the pandemic, right? But sometimes when you first get this knowledge, right? Actually, let me move this real quick. We'll get back into it. When you first get this knowledge, you could start running out the window with the knowledge, right? You could start getting this knowledge and thinking that you know everything and start talking, but people are going to ask you questions, right? And when people ask Kyrie them questions, right, he didn't really know how to answer them, right? That's what happens when you just have knowledge, right? But not wisdom. You haven't really thought these things through. You haven't really worked them out in your mind, and you're not willing or ready or able to defend your ideas, right? That's the first point, right? These people are sports players. These people are entertainers. They're not supposed to be leading communities, right? They don't have the skill set. They don't have the training. They haven't read all the books. They haven't done the time. It takes years, right, to get this type of knowledge. I'm still growing. You know what I'm saying? I started this journey in 96. Shit, in 2020, 2003, I thought I knew everything. Now I realize I didn't know shit, right? But I thought I knew everything then. You know what I'm saying? So it's a journey where you're constantly learning and you're constantly editing, right? You're constantly deleting things and you're constantly adding on and removing things as you go along the journey, right? Second of all, if you have a career in corporate America, my mama taught me there's three things in corporate America that you must do. First thing, and you may have heard this as well, you don't talk religion and politics at work, okay? Kyrie and Kanye work for them people. If your black ass, so-called black ass, is not going to go to work wearing a t-shirt saying, I am a Jew, I am a Hebrew, then you shouldn't be expecting Kanye to fall on, or Kyrie to fall on the sword. He apologized. I'm not mad at him. You know what I'm saying? Go play ball, Kyrie. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what we know you for. That's what we wanted. We don't know you to be a philosopher. We don't know you to be a historian. We know you have a kind heart. We know you want to help people, but you're not a philosopher. You're not a historian, right? This is not your lane, right? You should, if anything, you should have brought 19 keys to answer these questions for you. You cool with 19 keys? Bring them up there, right? But you don't talk religion and politics at work. He works for them people, right? That's not his. He don't run the NBA. He works for Nike. He don't run Nike. A lot of people want to be God bodies. You want to be a God, right? And you want to say what you want to say, but that ain't your house. That's not your temple. That's not your pyramid. That's theirs. They built that. You work there, but they built that. When you build your own, you could talk what you want to talk. You could say what you want to say. You could be as Hebrew as you want to be. But institutions are needed. That's why we gotta climb this rocket. That's why we gotta take off, and that's why we gotta raise this kundalini. And now is the time, because the energy is here, right? And people are waking up, right? But we have to dig deep into that darkness to come up and heal and transform all this drama and trauma and negative energy, right? It's time for it to go. And it's time for us to really work on healing and transforming that, all right? And the more of us that do that, you will see more change. Because again, when you have a knowledge of self, the first thing is you want to help yourself, right? You want to help yourself. And by helping yourself, you want to help others as well, right? But you want to help yourself. You want to look out for yourself. You want to look out for your people. You want to look out for people. Knowledge of self is doing your culture, right? So you want to look out for those that have your same culture. And I'm not talking about just black. I'm talking about, of course, I'm a melanated being. I want people who look like me to succeed, but I want people that's on a high vibration to succeed, right? I want melanated people to run these institutions because we know how to run it best. If we weren't interrupted, right, from colonization, Wakanda plus more would already be here, right? We don't need vibranium. We would have created vibranium. There's cobalt and coltan, which is what they're using for these computers. It comes straight out the Congo. They come straight from the Congo. The materials are there already in Africa. The materials are there. So imagine if we were never interrupted via slavery, via colonialism, we would already be Wakanda plus. Wakanda plus. So the goal is for us to really get to the point where we are truly, let's go back, where we are truly, gotta open up the screen for y'all, my bad. We are truly infinity links. All right. We are truly infinity links, and we are truly controlling the chessboard. And we are spreading the message of what's right and what's wrong, and not just letting other people dictate to us. We have social platforms now, we have these channels, and we got to keep spreading the truth. And most of all, we got to start creating our own channels, man. We got to, those of us who know these celebrities, we got to start linking with them and telling them, yo, why don't you start your own social media? Do you know if Cardi B started her own social media site, or Janet Jackson, shit, or let's say the late Prince, or Michael Jackson, or someone, they started their own social media site? Do you know how powerful it would be? Do you know how many people would be over there? Do you know if Drake started his own social media site, how many people would leave Instagram and Facebook and go over to Drake's social media? Those are infinity links, things that live on beyond you, things where you control. You use the darkness and bring things to light. And this is where we're not there yet. But again, we're shifting control. And these are the signs and symbols that are showing you that we're shifting control. All right. So he's wearing 42, right? In masonry. Now, Jackie Robinson, we'll go into Jackie Robinson shortly. So the 24-inch, I took the 42 and turned it backwards. The 42-inch gauge, the 24-inch gauge, all right? It says this tool was originally used by the operant masons to measure and lay out their work. However, for the Freemasons, it holds the meaning of time management, all right? The 24 inches into which it is divided are the reminders of the 24 hours of the day. These 24 hours can be divided into three equal units of 8 hours, all right? What are we using our time on? All right. This is a question you have to answer for yourself. What are you using your time on? What are you using your time watching? What are you using your time doing? If you're just watching YouTube videos of motherfuckers like me or people that's, spitting knowledge and all that, that's good, but not great because you're not doing the work. You're just gaining knowledge, right? So, and you're not taking your time to think for yourself. So so your inner voice, right? Starts You start having the inner voice of someone you've seen on another YouTube channel instead of your own inner voice. So you want to take time, and that's what this 24-inch gauge was about. As you see, there's a checkerboard right here, right, or a chessboard, black and white colors, and it says, "As Freemasons, we can use this to remind us each day to devote 8 hours to the service of God." Now, a lot of us work, right? So that mean it, but you have time when you get off. And I know you have kids, you have this, you have that. People have things that they're working on, businesses, things like that. I get that. But everybody has 15 minutes in a day to start with, to meditate, to go in, to regenerate yourself, right? To go into your inner silence, your inner darkness, and bring things out and bring out your own inner creativity, right? And you start with that and then you continue going on. But at least the Freemasons, they have a way to divide your time a day. How many people are just going through their days willy nilly, right? You go to work, You come home, watch some TV, and then you do it all over again for the next 4 days, right? Or some people 6, some people work 7 days a week, right? And some people are working 6, 7 days a week just to impress other people that don't give a damn about you, wouldn't give you a soup if you were sick, wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire. But it says each day, so, and look at the Freemason Creed, right? We use this tool to remind us each day to devote 8 hours to the service of God and a worthy distressed brother, and a worthy distressed brother, and a worthy distressed brother. How many of us are looking out? We talk about all this black power and black pride and black lives matter and black, 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 black. But then we shooting each other, right? We snaking each other, right? We in survival mode. We see somebody that's on the come up. We want to figure out how to take advantage of them, how to use them, right? But then you talk to this person on the side, and if a cop shoots somebody, if a cop shoots that person, then all of a sudden it's Black Lives Matter. We love them. See, we seem to use our 24-inch gauge, right? We use our 24 hours. We seem to use it in fuckery for the most part, right? And then when something happens, we react to it. I remember watching the guy who passed away. I see his face, but I'm forgetting his name right now. But he's a chef. I think it's Piers something, but whatever. He's a chef, and he was in I believe the Congo, right? He was in the Congo, and he when he left, he said something interesting that I never forgot. He said that the people there were waiting for someone to save them. They were waiting for someone to come and do the work for them. I never forgot that because the same thing is happening here. Dr. Claude Anderson already has how we could get about this. He has the blueprint. He has the charts, the map. He has the structure. Dr. Claude Anderson already has how to do it. Right, the first floor, the second floor, the third floor, fourth floor. Right, in Powernomics, he has the blueprint. Now, the blueprint's not being used. Right, because why? Everybody's in fucking the hood mode or the struggle mode, or I gotta get out the struggle. I gotta be hood. That's not even our character. That's not where we come from. We come from a people of nobility, right? So when we talk about this, it says 8 hours to the service of God and a worthy distressed brother, right? How many of us are helping people that are beneath us or help, quote unquote, well, not beneath, but that need help, right? And how many people, and sometimes people don't help people because if you try to help somebody who looks like you, then they're going to snake you. They're going to take advantage of you. They're going to take your kindness for weakness. But this is where the spiritual elevation comes in, right? And sometimes you give without seeking anything from that direct person, but you give knowing that the blessings are going to come from the divine, come from your ancestors, right? Come from the universe, come from God, right? So you don't look for your return from man, or you don't give for the exchange from a man. You give because it's the right thing to do, because it's going to help someone, because it is a noble thing to do, right? Similar to when Queen Ramona sacrificed herself so that she could save Ironheart in Wakanda forever, right? That's what we come from, for real. All right. So this dude was wearing a Jackie Robinson hat, right? 42, also the number 6. We're in the 6th year, all right? But Jackie Robinson, right, was beefing with Malcolm X. It says Robinson accused Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam of leading Black America down a path of surefire destruction. Now, Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam, however you feel about their philosophy, they had businesses. They were cleaning up men and women, right? They were taking them off drugs. They were taking them off addiction. They were taking them out of poverty, right? They had tons of businesses and tons of farmland at one point. And then what happened is Elijah Muhammad's son took over and basically turned it the NOI into a regular Orthodox Muslim religion, and all those businesses went to the Arabs, right? This is why Farrakhan had to break off and do his own thing with the Nation of Islam. But anyway, we're in Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was just, look, I got to go along to get along, so I could play in the MLB, right? I got to take them calling me a nigga. I got to take them spitting at me. I got to take them disrespecting me, right? Which is basically what LeBron was telling Kyrie. All right. Again, you can't follow these guys because these guys are in there, right, for their own thing. You got LeBron with the Takeoff outfit, right? He says he honors Takeoff with the pregame outfit. Rest in peace, Rocket Man. But again, there's the black and white again, and he is actually vamping energy, right? Because we also know these people, them Jewish people, they wear the black and white as well, right? They wear the black and white as well. And he's basically saying, look, he wore this the day after, either the day or 2 days after he wore this, right? And said it's a celebration. He wore it 2 days after he wore that. Either a day or 2 days he wore that. He did that. So again, you see the black and white again here, right? The checkerboard, and him basically trying to siphon off that energy. But he's trying to tell them people, look, I'm down with you, because you can see this guy here is also wearing the black and white, trying to simulate dreads, right? Now, it doesn't matter what culture they are stealing. It's how do you steal it back and how do you make it work for you? Okay? That's really what it's all about. Shoot, what do I had something. Oh, okay. So, I think I skipped it. Oh, I did it. All right, let's do this. So, after this boy, after this boy wears this outfit, right? You see where he's at, right? He said he was honoring Takeoff, but look at what he wore to the wedding, right? This was just this year with a rabbi, ex-convict rabbi. I'm not saying anything about these people. I'm just saying what the article says, okay? This is from the Times of Israel. Don't confuse. I'm not anti nothing, all right? This is what he's wearing. Okay, he has the same thing on, and if you look at this video is like disgusting. You see them leading this guy they leading this guy like he's a puppet, like he's a toy, and he's not comfortable because you can see it in his body language. You can see him, oh, shoot. You can see him biting his lip, so he's not even comfortable. He's not even comfortable being led like this, right? But this guy would be considered an alpha male, right? Big, strong, tall, billionaire basketball player. But look at how they rolling this guy around. Look at this guy showing this guy off, right? Displaying him like a monkey. You know what I'm saying? Displaying him like a monkey. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at his face. Body language. He ain't comfortable being led around like that, having this guy holding his hand and leading him around everybody right there. He leading him so fast, his security can barely keep up. You know what I'm saying? And look at all these people around him. So this is why he said what he said about Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? And this is what he was trying to basically say, look, even though he wore this outfit, remember these people have handlers. They don't do things on their own. They don't do things on their own. Someone tells them what to do. Someone tells them how to dress. Someone tells them how to be, where they gotta go. So this is their handler work. All right. So we got these people again. This is what they look like, right? Showed y'all that already. Also, the black and white. Okay, this is Kyrie. He apologized yesterday, Saturn day, right? These colors are for Saturn as well. This black and white, right, is a color of the planet Saturn. You look at the Kabbalah, you see the Saturn sigil right here on the Bina, right, which is also color black and white. Kemet, that would be Sekert. Sekert is also, I don't have that here, but Sekert is um, a Kemetic deity. Actually, I could show y'all here. I can show y'all here. So Sekert is a Kemetic deity, right? Seker or Sekert. That also aligns with Sekhmet, right? Shekinah, right? Sheik, Shechem, right? Shakti, right? You see, they all sound the same. And this deals with, like it says here, when the emotions of man's manifest in response to the word of God, they have the power to influence the course of any and all events in the world. But this is also the deity of Scorpio season, right? So that's interesting too, that it's a black and white. But this is also the deity of Scorpio season, Seker or Seker, right? Now, let's go to, so this is Kyrie, right? Of course, Kyrie is a net, but we know he wears black and white, all right? Again, just more of that symbolism of the new control of the chessboard. He wears the number 11. Most of this drama happened in November with him. This is the 11th month. And again, I don't knock him for apologizing. He's a basketball player. That's not his workplace. That's not his job. Now, there's things he could have done, right? For instance, because I'm a problem solver, this is how I think. Kyrie's popular enough and talented enough that he could literally start his own and one type of thing where he takes basically street ballers who do tricks, right? And runs with them and starts a tournament, right? Now, with this label on him, he still would have had to apologize because you can't, because money's green. They don't care if you're a Jew, black, white, Spanish, Italian, Chinese, Japanese, Russian, whatever, right? Money's green. So the goal of these businesses is to get as much money as possible. So when you offend or when people perceive that you offend another group, it stops the money. That's all this is about. America is based on capitalism. America is a business, ultimately. It's a business. So if the money stops, there's a problem. All right. And that's what this is about. So it's not about just him, even though him speaking up and Kanye speaking up are both great, right? Great things to do and was supposed to happen because spirit uses everyone. And now people are looking into their lineage more, people are studying more, people are going into books, people are reading more, right? People are watching more videos to learn their origins, right? And realize that there's different tribes in Africa, there's different religions, right? They're realizing the source of quote unquote Judaism, right? They're going into these things and learning. So it's a great thing, right? But ultimately, these are lessons to people to start tightening it up, all right? To start tightening it up. YouTube, we don't own it. Rumble, we don't own it. Patreon, we don't own it, right? There has to be a point to where we are on our own systems that we've created. And there's enough black technical genius out here, quote unquote, black technical genius out here to create those systems. But again, you see him wearing the black and white on Saturday, right? Symbolizing that he has a hat on that says organic Negroes. I don't know where he was going with that, right? I'm not even going to try to decode it, but well, actually, I can decode it because Spirit's like, yo, right now, telling me something. And Spirit's like, yo, what he means by organic Negroes is that we got to grow our own shit organically, Negro. Negro, you got to grow your shit organically. You got to create your own shit, right? You got to come out the darkness and put something in the light. And it's time to start talking. And it's not really our generation, those of us that are, older or so called older or whatever. It's really about the youth seeing people go under this and saying, nah, I don't want this to happen to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want this to go on. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to create things for me and my people. I'm going to create this for me and my people when I run it. And that's the next evolution. And that's where we start controlling the chessboard. When we start saying what's right and what's wrong and speaking out. And there's nothing wrong with speaking out. It's just when and how you do it, right? This is Stranger Things, right? The girl from Stranger Things went to a Hawks basketball game, right? Hawk. So this team in Stranger Things is Hawkins High. So I had something here. I thought I did, but I guess I don't. But basically, 11, right, which is Kyrie's number, 11 from Stranger Things. 11 from Stranger Things went to a Hawks game. So I told you Hawks, right? We saw Hawkman earlier, right? The hawk is also a symbolism of Heru, even though Heru is a falcon. Also, hawks aren't in the Northern African region, right? But a hawk would be synonymous for the falcon, right? So basically, just showing more of that Heru energy, all right? Jaylen Brown, okay? Push back, okay? He spoke up. He wears green, okay? I showed you the green in when they have the World Series in Houston, the green of both mascots dealing with the heart chakra, right? He's the only one that pushed back. You know what I'm saying? It says they express discomfort, right? So he's the only one that pushed back. His number is 7. 2023 year adds up to a 7. We're going into a 7 year. Let's keep going. It says Ryan Turrell makes basketball history in pro debut, the first Orthodox Jewish player on the court. He's wearing a number 7. All right. Now, of course, they're doing this, right, to offset the whole us learning our true history, right? Us learning that not only were melanated people the Jews, the originator of the Jews, but even the Hebrew Jew or the Hebrew Israelite still got their science from somewhere else, right? When you look at it, it's still stolen, right, from somewhere else. The Kabbalah is stolen from the part Netzarut, right? The Kemetic tree of life. So their 7, they try to offset his 7, Jaylen Brown 7, basically, but it ain't gonna work, right? But we got to understand, right, what these people's culture is, right? Or if we don't learn from it, then how can we master it, right? So let's look at this video real quick. Let me know if y'all can hear it. Let's look at this video so we can understand. And let me know if any of these principles, have you heard any of these principles in a church in your life? Because if they stole our culture, we got to steal it back.
Out to this. And you need to consider the affluent.
And let's start with, I guess, the most important question for me is it okay to want to make a lot of money?
If you don't want to, it's not going to happen. You have to want for it to happen.
Yes, we should all.
Yes, we should all have very comfortable and very affluent lives so that we can ignore it and do good things.
Why ignore it?
Why ignore it?
Because it's only a means to an end.
Because it's only a means to an end.
If we get too
caught up in it, if we become too dependent on it,
then it starts
to work against us.
So
actually getting rich can be very depressing. Probably didn't want to hear that. Because generally speaking, when our existence is really comfortable, then we more desperately need to validate that existence with meaning. So the bigger our existence, the more value it has to have. So it's really good to have a great existence, but then the important thing is that existence will demand meaning and validation because it doesn't justify itself. So when you're poor and you're struggling and you think that if you make a couple of dollars, your life will get better, you're a little distracted. But once you're affluent, then you have to ask yourself, so my existence is good. Now what? Because to be or not to be is equally bad. bad. And that is not the question. The question is, if I be, why? If I exist, what for? That's a serious question. It's an urgent question. So if we get too devoted to the existence and forget the reason or the motivation or the meaning and so on, it just leads to depression.
That comes to a thing that's been bothering me for years, where it says that if you have 10, you'll want 20. If you have 20, you'll want 40. I know many people who have 100 million and they absolutely want 200 million. Is that your experience as well?
That's human nature, and that's probably a healthy instinct. But that doesn't mean that amassing a lot of material goods is the true meaning of wealth. It's interesting. If you feel that you're getting more than you deserve, your experience, your feeling, your reaction will be gratitude. I'm getting more than I deserve. I don't deserve this. Then the feeling is gratitude. I am grateful. If I think I'm getting what I deserve, well, that's just justice. I don't have to be grateful about that. But when I feel like I have more than I need, that is the feeling of wealth. And the feeling of wealth demands something. So if you have more than you need, and that feels rich in the full sense of the word, what do you do with that? It's not an end. That's where we begin. Like in meditation, when Jews in the 70s were going off to India to meditate, and they would reach the highest level of bliss or nirvana, and they would feel so good, and they would say, "This is great. What do we do now?" And the guru said, "You don't do. Now you're there. Now you're happy." And they said, "Yeah, let's do something." And they said, go back to your tradition. You're not cut out for this. When we're doing great, that's when our life begins. That's not the conclusion. That's kickstarting our lives. So when you have abundance, then you can start living.
Let's talk.
So it's just you never heard in your church them talking about money like that. Even your prosperity preachers, them talking about abundance that way. Them talking about looking at how meditation is just the beginning, how prayer is just the beginning, how you have to do something with that. Even talking about how if you just have enough, what do they teach you to be in Christianity, to be small, to be humble, right? To just have enough that you need. No, he's teaching his people, you don't have enough, right? You want to have more than enough. You want to be overly abundant. And that's when you're truly living, right? So again, I'm not positioning anybody that's outside of my culture, my ancestors' culture, as better than me. But what I am positioning and putting out there is that there are principles that we need to learn from other cultures. That video is called The Kabbalah of Making Money. I highly recommend you sit down and watch it and you learn, because when I heard it, I was like, yo, this is like, not only is it good advice, but it clicked something in my mind to kind of shift the way I was looking at it. And this is what you're supposed to do. You're the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the father of civilization, of God and the universe. Your goal is to learn, right? Asor's body, in the Kemetic theology, Asor's body was broken into 14 pieces. It's your job to take the pieces and put them back, right? It's your job to put the pieces of Asor back together. And that goes to listening and learning from those who are already successful, whether they're from your culture or not. That's how you make your culture better. If they stole your information, they stole your knowledge, if they stole your history, if they're the fake Jews, then be the real ones then. Be the real ones. Let's continue. So, and we got real things that's happening, right? US is this was October 17th, but US is already run US is running through Haiti, all right? They're going through Haiti, they're trying to take over Haiti, right? Again, right? They already have the earthquake. Now they're trying to take over the whole island. Okay. So I'm talking about all this stuff, but Haiti ain't having it. All right. If you following this or look at world news, you'll see that there's a lot of pushback from the Haitians. So they're on their black, they're on their darkness, right? They're on their controlling the chessboard as well, right? They're on there standing up for themselves as well. Um, Peru, okay, they're going in, right? They got an anti-protest. They're fighting back, okay? Look at the colors again, okay? I'm just showing you how these things are playing out. I'm just showing you how these things are playing out. Look at the color schemes. Look at the black and white, all right? Again, more control of the chessboard. If you are here, hit that like button, please. I appreciate it. All right, next, we're going into these are just some of the things that's happening. All right, the Mississippi River is drying up. All right, so there's real issues, things that's really happen besides identity politics, besides knowing if you're a Hebrew or not, besides knowing it's good to know where you're from. Don't get me wrong. It's good to know your identity because that's the one thing that was stripped from us. But there are tons of people from Ivan Van Sertima, from Dr. Ben, from Malcolm X, from Elijah Muhammad, from Noble Drew Ali. I mean, the list goes, Bobby Hemming. I mean, the list goes on who've been telling us who we were or who we are, right? It's up to us now to come to the point to where we are now not only we're past just identifying, but we're getting into the culture. We have the knowledge. Okay, this is who I am. Now the wisdom is to learn the culture and to understand the culture. Once you learn and understand the culture, right now you can start to create something. Right now you can start to have your freedom by creating your own independent entities, and that's where we're going. That's why all these things are drying up as well, right? And a lot of these things are drying up because we're supposed to be rebuilding. We're supposed to build the new ships. We're supposed to be building stuff for the new harbor, right? We're supposed to be creating and innovating. But you cannot do that. Actually, let me remove this because I want y'all to really understand this. You cannot do this if you are not listening to your inner voice. If you are full of distractions, you're working all the time, you don't read, you don't study, you watch YouTube videos, people like me or other people, and you're that's all you do. You don't go in to meditate. You don't have times of solitude. You don't have times of silence. You don't spend times in nature. Silence, solitude, nature, meditation. The more you do that, the more you get in tune with your inner voice. The more creative you become. The more downloads you get, the more knowledge you get, right? The more wisdom you acquire, the clearer your thinking is, right? But you you have to do the work. You have to do the work to listen to that inner voice. And a lot of us are cut off from that inner voice because of all the distractions that are out here, right? There's tons of distractions. There's a billion shows on TV. There's a billion things on the internet, right? There's a billion things out and forget the streets. People don't even go outside and do anything anymore. So they're pretty much tethered to their phone, their computer, or their TV, right? And they're tethered to or their laptops or whatever. They're tethered to these things, and they're not thinking for themselves, and they're not creating for themselves. So all they're doing is following influencers and following trends and being reactive instead of proactive. And in order to control the chessboard, we have to be more proactive. And you're going to see more of that happening, especially next year as we go into that 7 year, that God year. You'll see more of that happening. So this is really a good thing. All right, let's continue going. So I just wanted to build on that real quick. let's go into where we are. So also the money's gonna change, all right? All right. Are you prepared? Or again, are you niggas gonna be reactive, okay, when this happens, all right? 12 weeks is not a long time. This is November 15th, all right? So that was a 12-week program. So you could say it started that week. So if we're looking at 12 weeks, all right, we're going into February when or March when this will take place. All right. And most likely it's probably gonna be around March, April, Easter, right? If I'm thinking as an occultist, right? They're probably gonna do it around some type of celestial event. So Easter would be great around that time. Or even better, Black History Month. So when people are angry, they could take all that loosh, right? And hack all that energy from people's trauma because things are gonna change, right? And this is what's happening. Okay, they're creating what they call central bank digital coin (CBDC). This is coming out. All right, this is not something that all the banks are in on it. All right, this is not something that is theory. It's happening. Okay. So, says the New York Fed said the program would explore the feasibility of an interoperable network of central bank wholesale digital money and commercial bank digital money operating on a shared multi entity distributed ledger, aka blockchain. All right. So, again, this is going to happen. Be prepared. All right. We are going into also the Rothschild child, the number 10. All right. Takeoff was 28. Again, the number 10 playing out. All right, the Rothschilds, we know, big financiers, big swindlers too, right? So one of them guys, you kind of have to rejoice, okay? Again, just showing more control and how the chessboard is shifting. Remember, the queen died also. Aaron Carter, all right, found dead in bathtub as neighbors hear chilling screams, all right? Aaron Carter, one of the Backstreet Boys, or not, sorry, one of Aaron Carter is the brother of one of the Backstreet Boys. I didn't know much about him. Obviously, I don't listen. Well, not obviously, but I don't listen to the Backstreet Boys or Aaron Carter. But I thought it was interesting that he died around this same time, right? And was tapping in to see what the significance was. And he has an album called Blacklisted. Okay, now what's happened to Ye, right? He got blacklisted. What happened to Kanye? He got blacklisted. What happened to Nick Cannon? He got blacklisted, right? But the way you rise out of that blacklisting is you embrace your healing, right? You embrace opening up those chakras or those spinning wheels or that tet in that black atom, right? You start spinning that black atom or that kundalini energy or that darkness within, you start raising your frequency and raising your vibration. And now you start those chakra wheels spinning. Now you illuminate that third eye. Now you get different gifts. As perception, you're able to see beyond the surface, beyond the veil. So when they say, oh, this is scientific, you got to take it. Trust the science. You say, hold up. Let's see what's behind this thing and what can I look at what can I look at? And I'm using that as an example, right? But these different things like this, where you're able to look beyond the veil and see the signs and symbols, that's enhanced perception. You can only do that through meditation, right? You can only do that through connecting with your ancestors. You can only do that through having a knowledge of self and who you are, right? You can only do that by helping yourself. You can only do that by disciplining yourself. You can only do that by saying, hey, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that because it's going against me developing my higher self and my higher abilities. Okay. And this rainbow color is essentially all the colors of the chakra from red to or infrared to ultraviolet. All right. And that is the rainbow. When Thor, I've said this before, when Thor raises his hammer, right, to go to Asgard, it's a rainbow bridge, right? And when he gets to the rainbow bridge, the person who meets him is a melanated person. That he is a representative. I forget his name right now, but he's a representative of the pineal gland. All right. So your access to the pineal comes from you raising your frequency on a consistent basis. And again, silence, solitude, symbols, repetition, meditation. All right, all these things help to activate that rainbow. All right, and actually, Aaron Carter had called, said sent a text. Aaron Carter had sent a text to Kanye, right, about this guy Harley Pasternak, right? And again, Kanye's been wearing, if you notice, he's been wearing a lot of black hoodies and white lately as well. Again, these people don't know why they're doing what they're doing. It's just the spirit is using them, right? But again, Kyrie, all these things, right? Kyrie, I believe he said his name means Yahweh, right? So Kanye, it sounds like Kyrie, right? Sounds like Offset's name, which is Kyrie. His middle name is Kyrie, right? So all these things are bringing up that essence of Yahweh, which is that Jesus energy we talked about earlier, or that Jesus energy, right? So, but he was threatened by the celebrity trainer, right? Where they said, "Yo," said they said he's a fitness guru who's Jewish who could have the 45-year-old rapper medicated into zombie land forever. All right. And nobody's talking about this. He says, second, I have you institutionalized again where they medicate the crap out of you and you go back to zombie land forever, play date with the kids. Won't be the same. Nobody's saying things. Text that sent a tweet to Kanye said, "We need to talk." And then 2 days later, Aaron Carter was dead, right? So what did they have to say about this particular guy, right? Is he part of Mossad? What, you know? So again, just a little bit of conspiracy thought. But again, my channel is not about the conspiracy. It's about raising your frequency. Uh, we have the Black Panther, right? Quetzalcoatl. We see Quetzalcoatl here. Again, the rainbow serpent, right? Quetzalcoatl considered the rainbow serpent god, right? And if you look, you'll see it right here, right? Rainbow serpent. Also, there is a deity. Shit. Do I have? Do I have his? Yeah, there's a deity called Dan, right, in Benin that looks just like Quetzalcoatl. You can't find it in the internet on the internet. The only place you can really find it is in Adika Butler's book, Treasures of Darkness. I should have had this prep, but let me. Okay, let me pull it up. Show you. And it looks just like Quetzalcoatl. So you see this deity, and now we cloud the green screen. You can't see it, but it's actually a rainbow right here, and it looks just like Quetzalcoatl, right? Great book. Get this book, The Homie and Model the Hobie, right? Get it off of Adika Butler's page. You can find him on Instagram. Um, Now let's remove this. So we're going into so Quetzalcoatl, right? The rainbow serpent. All this represents is Kundalini energy, right? And the raising of Kundalini energy. And this rainbow is essentially the chakras, right? All being enlivened, rising up your spinal cord, okay? This Kundalini, Kunda means coiled, right? So this coiled snake rising up the spine, right? It's called energy. And if you are a person who meditates, again, you will feel during meditation, you'll feel that energy rise up and you will feel the energy rise and your pineal gland actually start to pulse, right? During your meditation. And this is when these spiritual gifts and these things start happening, right? And these alignments start happening. So even though this is in Africa, in Benin, in Africa, right? And this is in quote unquote Mexico, right? Or South America, they're the same deity. So the correspondents are the same as Dan. Um, and we see also Wakanda Forever, just another another Namor, right? I had a picture. I thought I had. Oh, there he is. Yeah, of Namor wearing the headdress, right, representing Quetzalcoatl, representing the rise of that serpentine energy. Now, again, when we talk about the darkness, right, because this has been the theme, and this is why I say this is the new controllers of the Masonic chessboard, the controls of what's right and what's wrong, and you're going to see more of that. And this is the beginning stages of the real age of Aquarius. A lot of people, especially during this season of Scorpio season, there's a lot of unresolved trauma, right? A lot of childhood trauma that people still have to work on, right? There's a lot of unresolved shadow work that still has to go on, right? From hood trauma, period. Now, a God is a time traveler, right? You could go to your past and change everything. You could go to your past and forgive. You could go to your past. And the main reason you're going into your past to these traumatic moments is to change the energy around it, is to change the frequency around it, is to change the vibration of that energy. That is it. It's not so you can relive it so you can feel bad again. Not so you can relive it so you can feel hurt again. But you cannot avoid it. You cannot avoid who you are. You cannot avoid who you are. You cannot avoid who you are. And what you went through is part of who you are. Whatever trauma is, however traumatic it may be, that's who you are. And you got to heal it. That's why shows like WandaVision, Wakanda Forever, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, most of these in phase 4, most of these shows on Marvel are about healing trauma. Or about healing trauma. Was the trauma WandaVision was the trauma of somebody dying. Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? I'm talking about these Marvel shows on Disney Plus now. Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was about the Winter Soldier healing from him just being a killer and a mindless killer, right? And getting back at the people who made him do it, right? But healing also from that trauma of knowing you did a lot of things, how it affects you, right? And just all, and just a lot of these mythos, even Loki, right, was about him healing and becoming a better quote unquote demon, right? A more healed demon, one that was more in tune with their heart, being the introduction of Sylvie, right? If you watch those shows. So when we look at these myths, right, myths are not just about what the government is doing to us and how they're doing this and how they're programming us, right? People talk about Wakanda Forever and they're like, oh, there's not enough men in it. But the men that were in there were powerful as fuck. Like M'Baku was thought, he was Tahuti. He was he was giving wisdom throughout the whole film. You don't need people melanated men is not just about being a tough guy, right? Being a big black man is not just about being a tough guy, right? I'm a big black genius. I'm a big tall black man, but I'm a fucking genius, right? I'll fuck you up too. But it's not all about just being, my main focus is not to fuck you up, not about being a tough guy. It's not about being a gangster. I'd rather greet you in love, right? And you decide if you're going to play yourself or not. But everybody gets the benefit of the doubt, at least with me, because that's my perspective on the world, right? My perspective is the world, I am here, but the world is here to serve me, right? For my benefit. That's my perspective. The world is here to serve me for my benefit, right? There's ups and downs in that perspective, obviously, but there's way more ups than downs. The perspective I had before gaining this knowledge and doing the actual spiritual work and the study and the discipline, right? The perspective I had, I was cynical, I was critical, I was reactive. Every negative news story that happened to melanated people, I was stressed out about. I was sad. I didn't feel good about myself. I was always looking for escapism to comfort myself because literally every week there's a goddamn news story about melanated people going through some shit and always reaction. Then when it dies down, people go back to normal till it peaks again. Then people start talking about being activists, right? But why aren't you an activist when shit's not going down, right? And that's the thing we got to get out of. Stop being reactive and start being proactive. But to be proactive, it takes you listening to that voice in your head to know what that sounds like so you can start to create So you can start to connect with your ancestors and connect with other people's ancestors, and then the other people start coming with the same ideas, and then you start building all that. And all that past trauma you got to heal from. They destroyed Black Wall Street. They destroyed this. They killed all our leaders, so we can't do it. That was the past, bro. That was the past. You learn from the past, and you move forward in the future, right? If Kyrie and Kanye would have studied their history, they'd have seen would have happened. What happened to Jack Johnson when he married that white woman, and how he had to run around just by again being himself, which is what Kyrie was trying to do, which is what Kanye is trying to do. Be himself, right? Saying I am this. Y'all can't just claim this and say, "Oh, I'm excluded. I'm not Semitic." No, I am this, right? I am this. I am from Talakan too, right? So you can't just exclude yourself. So that's what this is all about. Let's keep so basically this raising of this energy is what we should be doing this particular season, going up into the winter solstice, right? Going into this season. When you ask for these things, not only spiritual gifts but material gifts, cars, money, women, men, uh, homes, whatever, right? Which you should have, as I just showed you. You should have an abundance of things, right? You should have that. That is part of our birthright, right? When you ask for these things, also think how you're going to help someone else with it. What can it do to help someone else? What can it do for someone else and you start with your family, not the world. You start with your family. If you don't have family, then you start with your close friends, right? Then you move on from there, right? Start from the bottom, then you build up, right? You ain't trying to save the world. We ain't missionaries, none of that. All right. All right. So again, more Quetzalcoatl. I don't know why I put that. I have that here. Let's continue going. So again, we're at the end of Scorpio season, but there's 3 stages to Scorpio season. I'm not going to go through all the stages, but I just want to show y'all these 3 stages: Scorpion, Eagle, and Phoenix. So the Scorpion is actually the lowest form of the Scorpio, right? It's the backbiter, the snake, right? When people say, I don't like Scorpios, well, these are the people that you are running into. People who have not developed, right, are climbing their chakra real, not are trying to become better, not are trying to be the most high within themselves, right? Psalms 82:6 says, do you not know that ye are gods and sons of the most high? So if you are gods and sons of the most high, then you have to act like a god. And acting like a god is not just being domineering, right? Acting like a god means being fair, being just, being loving, right? But being forceful when you need to be, and also being wise, right? Tall, dark, and handsome is the external model of a man, right? Tall, dark, and handsome, right? And again, I'm just saying what is the model, right? Not what it is. You could be short, heavy set, whatever, and still be a dope ass man, right? But the other side of the coin to that is also strong, silent, and smart. See, nobody really talks about that strong, silent, and smart. You're not supposed to expose all your business and all your plans and all your views to popular society, right? You're supposed to do them in silence. And then when things pop out, they pop out, right? So, but the Scorpio, the Eagle, the Phoenix, I'm not going to go into all these. I've already been on here for quite some time, but I want to bring these up. This is something you can look up yourself and see that there are different stages to the Scorpio, and you wanted to rise to the Phoenix. The Phoenix is also always rainbow colored, right? What they called in Egypt or Kemet, what they called the Phoenix was the Bennu bird. All right. And again, this is just symbolizing the raising of the frequency or the raising of the chakras, right? And you see it right here. Again, the path of the flaming sword in the Kabbalah, right? But this is the caducees. You see this in the American Medical Association, right? The caducees is a symbol of good health. And this good health, a symbol of good health, is the chakras all running, right? The Ida, the feminine, and the Pingala, and the Shushuma, right? In Hinduism. And the Shushuma represents the spine, and these are the chakras that are awakened. And you can also see how these are parallel to not only Shazam's bolt, Black Adam's bolt, but also the Port Neteru or the Kabbalah, the tree of life in Jewish mysticism. Okay, so this is the goal. This is the goal. Not to get all the money in the world, not to be the richest person in the world, not to have the baddest women or the most men or, you know, travel and take fancy pics on Instagram. The goal is to live as the most high. When it all comes down to it, we all want a better world with better people. When it comes down to it, even though it's a fictional place, we do want to live like Wakandans. When it comes down to it, we do want that knowledge. We do want to have that level of discovery. We do want to have that level of culture around us that we could tap into. But we can't do this on other people's platforms. We can't do this in other people's facilities. We can't do this using other people's banks, right? We have to figure out a way to return to nature, return to land, and separate and remove ourselves among them. And what's going to happen is society is going to continue to go through different collapses as America falls, and we're going to be forced into creating these things ourselves, right? That's what's going to happen. All right, there's a deity Leviathan, again, another deity that is about Scorpio season as we end. And it is basically, you see Leviathan. Also, this comes from the tribe of Levi, right? Leviathan is considered a demon, but as I told y'all before, a demon is not what they told you in Christianity. A demon is a daemon, and also in Judaism, there is no devil, there is no demon, and there is no hell, right? Because in ancient language, no ancient language, there's demons, there's hell, or a devil. It doesn't exist. Even Set is not a devil. Set is just what it means. Adversary is just an enemy. So Set and Satan. But the principles that Christianity, what the Satan that they got is basically a shoe or a leg bar, right? That's where they got Satan from. They used those principles of him being a trickster and basically made that Satan, right? But it says Leviathan appears in Psalms as a multi-headed sea serpent, again corresponding with Namor, who we saw Wakanda Forever, that sea serpent, what we just saw in the Sadducees, right? That is killed by God and given as food to the Hebrews in the wilderness, all right? So there's different types of snakes. There's snakes that we call snakes, right? Or a Leviathan or a snake would be a person that, see, the thing about snakes is snakes don't have a limbic system in their brain. So you have three distinct parts of your brain. You have your R complex that deals with basic movement, right? Fight or flight responses, right? Basic basic movements, right? Music and things like that. Basic movement, right? That's the R complex. But a snake that's in your body, right? It's called the R complex. But a snake does not have a limbic system. So the other part of your brain is the limbic brain system. That's the one you have more in common with animals. It allows you to feel empathy. It allows you to feel your emotions. It allows you to connect with others. Right? A snake, physical snake, doesn't have that. Right? So when you say people are snakes, these are people that don't have empathy, they don't have emotions, they don't have care for you. So when you call somebody, say that they are a reptilian, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that if you take off their mask, you're gonna see a motherfucking snake head, right? It means that if they take off this mask of righteousness, right, this mask of I'm a humble politician, a servant of the people, right? And they take off this mask of I'm a good person. Oh, it's all right. You know what I'm saying? It's hey, we're LBGTQI and we're going into your schools and we're gonna teach your kids, right? And this is the right thing to do. When you see these things, right? The snake, there's a level of empathy that's not there, and it's people just wanted to push their selfish agenda because the snake is all about the snake. Snake don't give a fuck because the snake doesn't have the ability to have empathy, right? So when the snake is rising, you naturally have more empathy because it taps into the heart chakra and the upper chakras. You naturally have more empathy for others as well. Okay. Um, so a multi-headed sea serpent that's killed by God to give food to the Hebrews. In Isaiah 27:1, Leviathan is a serpent and symbol. So Leviathan is many different things, right? It says in the Ugaritic myth of Baal, I ain't gonna go into Baal, I'll be here forever. Leviathan appears in Psalm 74:14 as a multi-headed sea serpent that is killed by God and given as food to the Hebrews in the wilderness. Okay? So again, there's a serpents that you kill. There's also certain visualizations you could do. In the Kemetic initiation system, there's visualizations where you could do which they call killing a pep or killing the serpents of a pep, which are considered negative influence and negative forces that want to keep you low vibrational, which is what the external three-dimensional world every day. I mean, look at this motherfucking webpage. I'm talking about serious spiritual motherfucking concepts, and they got a motherfucking McDonald's free coupon shit at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? They got fries, this shit that's gonna kill me, right? Fries and motherfucking burgers, right? Shit that they trying to sell me a motherfucking overpriced Casper bed, right? This is the world that we live in, right? No empathy, no care for you, right? Get, take, right? Bite, feed, eat, devour, you. Animalistic, right? At its core. So these are the snakes that you got to worry about, right? So, but even in Job, is seen as a sea monster and the symbol of God's power of creation, right? So there's different ways to look at the snake or the serpent, right? And again, going back to Wakanda Forever, right? You see on this particular image, this is Sekhmet. What the hell? Oh, they trying to play me? All right. Maybe that's why I didn't blow it up in the first place. But Sekhmet, there is you see the snake, right? What they call the Uraeus, right? The snake with the open hood up there, right? In the solar disk of Sekhmet. Sekhmet is the story of, and again, if you watch Wakanda Forever, you got to really, really look. But at the bottom of the intro, the Marvel, when they have the Marvel and it's going through basically the comic pages, at the bottom, the first scene, it says right there on the right, Sekhmet. So it's a Sekhmet story, right? It's a Shakti story. It's a Binah story, right? It's a story about spiritual power and spiritual awakening. And it's showing that this snake could rise up into the point where it's tapped into I told you, the R complex, the limbic system, and then the third part of the brain is the prefrontal cortex. That's what you make decisions with, right? So you're not so emotional and tapped and stuck in the limbic system, which is why her stake is right here on the third eye, right? Right above the third eye, you see her stake showing that there is a mastery of this fiery Sekhmet energy, right? And it's not just for the simple it's not just for simple destruction, because Sekhmet is also a healer, right? That's also one of her main functions as a healer. And she also turns into Bast, right? When she's fully calm, she turns into a house cat, which is what Bast or Bastet represents, right? So Sekhmet, Bastet, same thing, right? Same deity, different form and function, right? It's just like when I talk to y'all, I'm Rob Blackstorm, right? Here on the internet. But, when I'm at work, I'm Rob Watson, right? Different function, different form, same dude. Same thing with Sekhmet. When she is Bastet, different form, different function, same dude or do that. And then we have, again, Shakti energy, right? With Sekhmet energy. Okay. Also, you see these are part of Killmonger's costume. If you saw Wakanda Forever, one of the things that made her even become Black Panther. That's why when people say men weren't in there, I'm like, you didn't really tap into the men that were there, because Killmonger was one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, right? And when she tapped into this particular energy, again, she's in a dark area as well, right? When she first came out as Black Panther, right? And she is basically showing herself to have that Killmonger energy in her, that rage. Now, those of you who've watched American Gods, there was a scene in American Gods where Mr. Nancy or Anansi, right, is on a slave ship, and he's telling the people on the slave ship that, yo, when you go, this is what's gonna happen, right? You're gonna go to America, they're gonna make you slaves, then you're gonna come out of slavery, they still gonna make you slaves through the prison system, right? They're gonna beat up your women, they're gonna beat you up, take your women, right? Or put you in Jim Crow and all the shit you're gonna go through, right? And basically he's telling them on the slave ship to get angry. Anger is good, right? And eventually they ended up burning down the slave ship, right? Ended up revolting. All the slaves ended up revolting and burning down the slave ship. But um his main talking point was that anger is good, right? There's a time to use anger, and there's a way to use anger. And if it's channeled properly, not you won't be killing each other, but you will be killing your enemies or killing your ops. Or in the case of this movie, you'll be killing your trauma. You'll be killing your limitations of what you can and can't do. And this will be done by your spiritual attunement, your attunement with your ancestors. So you can get these ancestral messages, which is what she got from Killmonger, even though she didn't expect to see him. But he gave her the message that she needed to get so that she could put on the suit and go to work and protect her people. Right? So you need to get these ancestral messages so you could put on your suit and go to work. So it's going to Sagittarius season, right? It's a great time. Again, we're going into the winter solstice. And what are you going to produce? What are you going to make? And you don't always have to be the person to make or produce. You could be the person that's assisting, right? Or helping to make and produce something with someone else, right? Or seeing the person that has the talent and has the vision and supporting and encouraging them, right? Now you may have to do some contractual work so at the back end they don't quote unquote snake you, right? But again, it's about aligning with people who have the same vision. You know what I'm saying? The same vision. So if you got these people, you want people that are doing this type of work that you are working with, right? Not people that are talking about it, not people that just speak about it, but people that actually are doing the work. And you can't figure that out by watching someone on the internet. You actually have to be around them physically. Anybody could be any character here on the internet. Anybody could be the most righteous. Anybody could be the most powerful. Anybody could be rich. Everybody could be, you could fake it till you make it all day on the internet. When you're around somebody in real life, that's how you know who they are, right? So that's what we want to get to. We're meeting, quote unquote, our heroes in real life and seeing how they are, seeing if they character matches up to who or what they're supposed to be. And sometimes it comes out online. You know what I'm saying? Who their character and what they really are and who they really are, what they're really about. Just because you know a lot of shit doesn't mean that you are living that shit you're talking. You can just have a good ass memory. And again, this is Bost. So you see again that segment energy, right? Again, this was the color of Killmonger's suit, right? I got Killmonger on my altar. I ain't gonna go to my altar and get Killmonger because he's doing his function. But I got Killmonger on my altar, right? And the interesting thing I talked about Kepara in the beginning of this video. Kepara is right here as the beetle, okay, on the helmet of Bastet, right? It was her real name. Anyway, for time's sake, I won't go into that. If you still believe in Jesus, right, and you still believe Jesus is your savior, get this book, The World's 16 Crucified Saviors. I read this book probably in 1998, I believe. And yeah, you realize that, I mean, it says it right here. The World's 16 Crucified Saviors, or Christianity Before Christ, containing new, startling, and extraordinary revelations in religious history, which disclose the Oriental origin. Oriental just means to the east, my brother, to the east, of all the doctrines, principles, precepts, and miracles of the Christian New Testament, and furnishing a key, sissy, for unlocking many of its sacred mysteries, besides comprising the history of the 16 heathen crucified gods. All right. And this is the list. Now, Thulis, I never knew what he was talking about. Thulis, this is more Heru. I don't know where this guy got the name Thulis, But these are all the different Christ stories. And if you again, what I want to show you is one of them is Quetzalcoatl's. All right. Which again was in Wakanda Forever. All right. So I thought that was interesting. Let's continue. The ADL, right, is based on this story of Leo Frank, right? Respect to the ancestor Jim Conley. Jim Conley, right, his brother was working in the paper factory with Jim Conley, right? Or James Conley. His family was he was working at this paper mill with Leo Frank. And apparently Leo Frank murdered a girl, right? Raped and murdered a girl. And they try to put it on Jim Conley, right? But Jim Conley wasn't he wasn't with it. So Jim Conley testified against him, right? When Jim Conley testified against Leo Frank went to jail. And what happened was the people of that town went and lynched Leo Frank. Leo Frank's right here. Leo Frank, they went and lynched Leo Frank. So the ADL was formed basically so that another so-called black man would never be able to speak and throw a Jewish man in prison or speak negatively and put a Jewish man in jeopardy, right? So it's literally built on the back of a black man telling his truth. And you know, these times, I think this happened in the early 1900s, right? Early 1900s. He said he passed away in 1960. So this is Jim Conley passed away in 1960. So this is what the ADL was built on. It's built on this brother. It's basically, and that's the same thing. So you see how quick when melanated people say something about people that are Jewish, how quick they hop on it, how quick they want to denounce it, how quick they on your back. It's because of this Leo Frank case, right? They know who we are. Adam Sandler already exposed that, right? I put this on my Instagram in the movie Uncut Gems. Go back and watch Uncut Gems. I did a decode about this. I did a decode of this in 2019. It's not on my it's not on my YouTube page because obviously you can't put a whole film, but I did a whole film. I did a whole decode. I still have it. Um, if you're interested, I'll send it to you for like $7 or whatever, but you can have it. You'll have your own copy. It's like like almost 3 hours long. But we went through the film, decoded everything, and showed you what they were trying to tell you. And basically, what they were trying to tell you is when shout out to Adam Sandler for this, he was trying to tell you that yo, you are from you're the original Jew. You're just uncut. You just don't know it yet. You're an uncut gem. You don't know that you're a gem. You don't know that you're the ones who started this religion, right? He literally, the beginning of the movie is literally people scooping up gems from a tunnel in Ethiopia. The main gem was Ethiopian opal, a black opal called Ethiopian opal. Go watch Uncut Gems, right? It used to be on Netflix. I don't know what it's on now, but go watch that movie, right? And look at the symbolism in there. Again, Jalen Brown was going off. Number 7, 7 and 11, right? If you playing dice, Takeoff was killed playing dice, right? But 7 and 11 is a lucky number. Takeoff was killed over a dice game, I should say, right? And you see Jalen Brown wasn't having it. Jalen Brown was like, yo. Jalen Brown was like, yo, this ain't nothing that's ever happened. You know what I'm saying? And he said, look, he didn't say that organization was working. He didn't say that the organization was working together to get Kyrie back on the floor. He said that he had more work to do. Basically saying he was trying to little boy. Joe Tsai was trying to, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets was trying to little boy Kyrie. And it says it's 2022. It takes minutes of time to see who these business owners, corporations, who they're associated with, and who they're doing business with, who they're affiliated with. So he's like, yo, I did my Googles, man. You know, Jalen Brown is number 7. He was number 7. That's the number of God, number of completion. He's like, yo, I did my Google, sir. You got stuff to apologize for. And he's talking about Josiah Alibaba supporting cultural genocide of the Uyghur Muslims. And when you read about this, man, this guy's putting these people in concentration camps and these Muslims in concentration camps and just trying to get rid of them. I mean, it's crazy what Josiah is really supporting to have something to say about Kyrie. So again, it's just exposing, again, that darkness is coming to light, right? Controlling that Masonic chessboard, bringing what's light, bringing what's in the darkness, bringing what's in the depths to light. Raising the Kundalini is bringing what's in the depths to light, right? Raising your consciousness is bringing what's depths to light. Raising your frequency is like bringing what's depths to light. What's in the depth or what's in the dark to light, right? It's the same thing. This is why Namor had to bring the sun to Kulukan because it was too dark. And that's a representation of the sacral chakra being opened up, right? The watery chakra, the emotional chakra. We got all these movies coming, right? Avatar, The Way of Water. Can't wait to see how that is, or what that's about, right? Now, the Navi is a tribe in the movie Avatar, right? And it's the melanated people, even though they're blue. Obviously, they have blue characters that were in the water in Wakanda Forever, right? Your blood before it hits oxygen is blue, right? That's why they call the powers that were the so-called elite, or they used to be elite. They call them blue bloods, right? Because they intermarry with each other, cousins and aunts and all that, and kids. They all sleeping with each other, right? So they call them blue bloods because they say their blood hasn't been tainted from outsiders, right? So again, Avatar is basically the shell that we are all in, right? And if you remember the last movie, their big triumph was they were able to link up with the animals. And we have in our brains magnetite crystals that, and it's on our pineal gland as well, that could literally connect us because animals have the same magnetite crystals as well in their brain. So that connect us with the animal kingdom, right? So that's interesting. And not only that, this is also about water, right? Water is also in the depths of us, right? Water is what we are mostly made of. We're mostly made of 70%, 75% water, but we can't see that water. We can't see that when we're hot and fiery, that water boiling within us and turning into vapor, right? And creating a field around us, just like a pot of boiling water, right? There's water vapor coming out, but we can't see that, right? We can't see that we're putting out certain energy, right? But we're mostly made of water. So that is truly the depths of who we are, right? The depths of water is darkness. Again, just showing more of how things are coming into play for us to really control this particular planet. But this is the genesis of it, right? It's starting on the 2022 year, the sixth year, the year of equality and balance. Let's keep going. We got the Black Little Mermaid coming. Okay. Again, more water, right? More inner, right? More, uh, more, and this is another Disney product, right? And I believe Avatar is on Disney, if I'm not, they're on Disney Plus, or was on Disney. Well, yeah, there it is, Disney Plus, right? So Disney, we just had on the 18th of this month, I don't know if y'all know, National Occult Day. November 18th of this month was National Occult Day. But November 18th is also November 18th is also Disney Day. Okay. This this day in Disney history, okay. Mickey Mouse made his debut. Okay. So this is the birthday of Mickey and Minnie Mouse. All right. So and 322, this is November 18th is the 322nd day of the year. 322, let's just do this. See, occult number, and it's gonna pop up with Skull and Bones. Okay, Skull and Bones Society. So November, right? We had October, with Day of the Dead, and the beginning of the week is the Week of the Dead that all the South Americans are celebrating their ancestors, right? We have November 18th, which is the National Occult Day. That's also when Disney debuted, right? It's the anniversary of Disney, and right, it deals with the skull and bones, and the skull and bones is tapped into Genesis 3:22. It says, "And the Lord God said, This man has now become like one of us, knowing." Now, notice that it says one of us, right? Lord God, when you translate this in Hebrew, right, it's Elohim. So it says, and the Elohim. Elohim is a group of gods, right? Elohim is not one God, right? Elohim is a group. It's gods, plural, right? And it says, this man has now become like one of us. Now they translate it and it says, oh, God, it is angels, right? But the angels aren't God and God aren't the angels, just like I am not my daughter and my daughter is not me. Even though my daughter comes from me, my daughter is not me, right? So God and the angels are not the same. So it says, now man has become like one of us, the Elohim, knowing good and evil. And Elohim is also something, interesting enough, Kyrie's but said what his name, Yahweh, or one of his children's name, I believe, actually was named Elohim. Okay. So that's been in play as well. All right. So just more significance. And also you see the black and white, right? So it's interesting that all this stuff is happening. So become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also, he must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and live forever. So what this is talking about, when you see the skull and bones, it's not something to be scared of, right? This is basically saying that when it's all said and done and when you die, all that's left is the skull and bones. So really, when everything evaporates, all that's left is your skull and bones, right? Not your flesh. So the truth of the matter is what you are is really skull and bones and everything else added on to you. So they saying basically this means that this is a symbol for truth, right? And saying that their secret society is them telling the truth of all things. But a lot of these secrets that are quote unquote in secret societies have now become mainstream. You can find them on the internet, in books. So all these quote unquote secrets are not really secrets, right? If that makes sense. Let's keep going. Let's see what y'all talking about. All right, all right, all right, all right. So all these secrets aren't really secrets. I was going somewhere. So Black Mermaid. All right, so the Black Mermaid, right? We have Mami Wata, okay, which is also a mermaid like deity from Africa who crossed over to the West, right? They say that Mami Wata crossed over, or Mami Wata sounds a lot like Yamaya, right? Crossed over on the sweetness of Oshun, the sweet waters of Oshun, right? Because Mama Water is still water, Oshun is sweet water, right? So, with that being said, then you see why the Little Mermaid is coming into play next year, right? To bring again more of that water, more of that depth, more of that dark energy up to the surface, right? So, this is just the symbolism that's played out. And you see it's very colorful, like a rainbow. Also, the representative of two fins, or the fins like this, is also a representation of the feet, okay? Of the two feet. So when you see these two fins like that on an image like this, right? This is a symbol, right? Not a literal thing, right? Not now you could now people also honor this particular image as a deity and honor this particular deity, right? And do rituals to Mami Wata. I'm not saying that you cannot do that or that's not feasible All right, looks like we back. Yo, my bad. I didn't even know I was down. I'm looking at here. Man, I was talking and talking and yapping and yapping. Yo, I appreciate y'all for hanging in. I had no idea that I was even out. Um, had no idea I was even out. Shoot, I'm almost done anyway, but damn, I'm trying to figure. Could somebody put in the chat where I left off or what was the last thing I was talking about? Could somebody put what's the last thing I was or that y'all remember? Well, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna share the screen again. Damn, that sucks. Okay, ritual to mommy water. Thank you, Trinity. I appreciate it. All right. So we on mommy water. Yeah. All right. So you could do rituals to mommy water. That doesn't you could honor her. You do MI seashells color um seashells, the color blue, anything like that is things that Mommy Wata likes. You know what I'm saying? Same things that Yamaya likes. Anything from the ocean, um, any blue, blue and white, things like that. And again, these things are not to be worshipped, right? These things are to be invoked. We don't worship. This is not Christianity. We're not worshiping this like Jesus or like an outside force, right? This is an inside force that we are cultivating and we are becoming one. Because again, we're made of 75% of Mommy Watson. All right, let's keep going. I appreciate y'all hanging out. I did this whole thing on Kang. I gotta say it again. All right, I'm gonna do the quicker version because I realize I've been on here for a minute too. All right. So you have Ant-Man who represents Eshu, right? Or Legba. He's a crook, a swindler, but he also has a good heart and he also loves his daughter, right? This is his daughter. I don't know what role she plays. Most likely, looking at her suit, she plays some sort of offset role, and she's going to rise to be the conscious or the how do you say it? She's going to represent the mind and third eye in some way, right? In the quantum universe, because of what she's wearing. Now, I don't know if this is blue or purple. I'd have to really see the suit in another still picture, but that's basically what I'm getting, right? And this is a representation. This is the wasp. This is a representation of Oshun. All right. So the Kang is coming. That's what I initially had said, right? People were talking about there's no men. Well, the Kang is coming in February, right? You're going to see the Kang here. The reason why I decode Marvel movies, or the reason I even talk about Marvel movies, is because when you have mythology, right? Mythology is always a representation of what's going on. When they had Avengers Infinity War and Thanos did the snap, and then they had Endgame, right? And people came back after the blip. Well, after the snap, we experienced was that C word, obviously, and the whole world was shut down. So we already are living in the Thanos snap, right? We're living in the aftermath of the Thanos snap, right? Right now, what we've witnessed in these last couple of months, really, with I want to say with Game of Thrones again, representing which I talked about earlier, or I should say House of the Dragons, talking about the rising of the Kundalini energy and rising of the energy from the depths, right? And if you look at this picture, you'll see this also looks like water in the background, right? So the quantum world even looks like water, all right? Um, and we're going to so the Sri Yantra mantra was the next thing I was getting into. This is something you can listen to. Prasida, prasida, Om Shri Hrim Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. Now you heard us say Lakshmi in here, right? So, right, and you see video, the Sri Yantra, but you also see, right? So again, we're not talking about the rituals that are done. Why? Oh, the Black Panther movie was a ritual. Blah blah blah. We ain't talking. I'm not with all that. What can I learn from it? How can I grow from it? What can I develop? They're doing a ritual. Shit. What ritual should I be doing? You know what I'm saying? I'm controlling the chessboard. I'm not letting them control the chessboard and do a ritual on me without me doing a ritual back. So I hear Shuri. I hear people saying Shuri, Shuri's the black man, Shuri's this, Shuri's this, Shuri. Spirit told me, nigga, that's a mantra. Okay, tap into that mantra. So you could use this video. It's on YouTube, right? You could tap in, right? You could. This is for me on my work computer. This is the first when I log in. The first thing I see is the Sri Yantra. Okay, when I meditate, I'm looking at the Sri Yantra. Well, what I've done, I've just remixed it. Just telling you what I've done. I put a Ma'at feather in the middle of this image. Okay, but I still remember the triangular pattern because of the repetition. Right. One of the ways you learn is repetition, seeing something over and over, and then it sticks. Right. So that's the same way I want this energy, this Lakshmi energy, right? This Ma'at energy to stick. Okay. So again, you could tap into this video, whatever. There's plenty of these videos out here. Just tap in Sri Mantra, right? There's plenty of these videos out here that you could tap into. Um, this is the Black Madonna, right? In Poland. And you see, right, all these Europeans, they worshiping the Black Madonna and child, right? So there's no reason to separate yourself from your divinity. The Christ is you, the Christ is in you, but we have to be Christ like. And the Christ has nothing to do with a white boy named Jesus. I just decoded that Jesus ain't even Jesus' name, right? Jesus is Yahweh with uh, an S in it, basically. Yahweh with the Hebrew letter Shin in it, which made Yeshua, which made Jesus, right? So Jesus never, again, I think in a scene, a person that was in a scene, a Nazarene, right, existed that was a magi or a magus or a magician, right, or a highly spiritual being, similar to a Joel Osteen or a T.D. Jakes of today. But was he some being who died and resurrected? No, that's all taken from different myths, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the book of coming forth by day, etc., etc., right? Showed y'all the 16 crucified saviors earlier, all right? So there's no reason to worry. You got this, right? Just tap into that energy. And also remember the first women were prophetesses, okay? So women, when they tap into their divine nature, they have a special ability to tap into psychic abilities much quicker, much easier because they're naturally imbued with intuition because their sacral chakra is already open, right? Most women's sacral chakra is already spinning at birth. So are most melanated people, but especially women. It's because they have to give birth at one point or another, right? They have, of course, if that's what you decide to do as a woman, but women give birth, right? They give birth to new life. They give birth to new souls, right? So soul or solar plexus, right? So they give birth to new souls, right? So one of the things we used to do as melanated men, we used to honor our women, right? And again, I'm not talking about honoring, the Sukianas of the world, right? Honoring the ratchets of the world, right? Or honoring the girl that's twerking 25/7. But she has a function, right? Even she has even though quote unquote so-called whore has a function, right? And has a purpose, even if it's just raising sexual energy, right? What you do with that sexual energy is up to you, but sexual energy is what brings life here on earth, right? So women that are doing the work, that are sincere, need to be honored. They need to be held up. That's why I don't bring in women on my channel, right? Because if I see a woman that I feel is put it in the work, is intelligent, is wise, right? And, you know, not only is intelligent and wise, but seems to be of good character, seems like she's not misleading the people, why not bring her up? Why not share my platform with her? You know? So the goal, again, is for us to unite as a family. The goal is to get the family together. And I think that's going to be one of the themes of this Ant-Man Quantumania, healing the family and healing the family trauma and healing the family drama. And this is This is in Poland, by the way. Poland's probably one of the whitest countries in the world, right? And they got a black Madonna. Okay, so you ain't got nothing to worry about. And last but well, one of the last but not least, this is showing the energy that we are in. Okay, yin yang, but right now we are in the darkness. Okay, we're in now. Negative doesn't mean bad. It's just as negative energy. Just like a battery has a positive and negative side, the battery is not a bad thing, right? You have a positive and negative side on your battery. So it's just energy, right? Women take in energy just like they take in the male phallus, right? So women, so this is the yin, right? We're dealing with female energy, feminine energy. So that's why you've been seeing all this, the rise since we're in Aquarius, or the age of Aquarius, the rise of women, so to speak. More women. There was a point where Nicki Minaj was the only female rapper. Now you see all these female rappers coming up out of nowhere, right? Music is an aspect of the sacral chakra, right? So we're seeing all these musicians rise up out of all these female musicians rise up out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? All this push for women's rights and women's equality, and these things are happening right now. The mythology, right? They call them the MCU, the MCU, right? But if you look at it if I'm looking at it from the lens I'm looking at it, okay, this is the way the myth is supposed to progress because that's what's happening. Now, everything has to go back to balance, right? And before it was too much yang, it was too much masculine energy, right? It was too much active energy, too much fire energy. All right, this is the generation I come from. The '90s, late '80s, '90s. You know what I'm saying? When it was just masculine, heavy energy, right? But now we have to get things back to balance. So now it's going a little to the extreme in the other direction because it has to. We have to get into our moonlight energy, our energy within, right? The moon is a reflection of light. We have to tap into our inner darkness, right? Healing that, doing the shadow work, right? Also pulling the treasures from within, listening to our inner voice, right? We have to tap into the earth. That's tapping into nature, right? Working with the Netzer root, or the nature spirits, right? Herbs, essential oils, things like that, right? Passive, I'm not with the passivity, so I ain't gonna cover that. Water, I've been talking about water this whole motherfucking 2 hours. 2+ hours. I've been up here below again, raising the kundalini, bringing from what's in out, right? The coldness, that's that snake energy again, that the kundalini energy, that coiled snake, again, cold. And last but not least, growth, right? It's time for us to grow, okay? And sleep is dealing with the meditation, going within, tapping within, studying things that are going to not only make you a magical genius, a manifester, but also make you a better person for yourself and your family and in that the world. Now, that's all I got for y'all. I've been talking forever. If you're here, please hit that like button. I appreciate it. Shout out to everyone who's here, who spent time with me. It's a long ass lecture. But I will be doing some shorter ones soon and going back to doing some recordings. So look out for that. Thank you for spending your time with me. This is Rob Blackstone. Peace, power, and prosperity. I'm out of here. Oh, last but not least, before I get out of here, remember you are God, right? Supreme being, deity, right? But also, if you look at God, or this is the etymology of the word God, it comes from good, right? To pour libation, right? So tonight, or wherever you watch this, pour libation to your ancestors. Let them know that you want to connect, right? And if you could pour libation in nature, if you got a tree, even better. You got something in your backyard or front yard or whatever, make a pact with a tree. As this tree grows, I'll grow, right? And make a pact with the tree, and the tree will help you grow. I've done it. Not actually, I'm telling you, the tree will help you grow in whatever way you want. And also, God means to pour, right? Poured earth, referring to a burial mound. So again, more connect burial mounds with ancestors. So more connecting to your ancestors. So again, this is about invoking, right? To call or invoke. That's what God is. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what this controlling of the chessboard is. That's what this shift is all about. And we're witnessing it. And we are passengers on the ship of the shift. All right. Now, peace, power, prosperity. Rob Blackstone out.